What's up, everybody? This is Jon Drake from the Nerf Herder Council and Talk Toomey, and I'm back, ready to talk about some more Dream Theater, and hoping that it records this time. Hey!
Yeah, Jon Drake is bringing the hate this week.
The hate machine.
I am. I'm the hate machine.
For anybody that doesn't know, we had some technical difficulties a few weeks ago when we recorded our original conversation.
8 weeks ago.
It's been a while. But the fun thing about this medium is that you get to just, pick it up where you left off when you get to pick it back up. So
do it whenever the hell you want.
Yeah, we had to check out the equipment, run a few episodes before we got you back on.
I was trapped in my glass prison, I couldn't get out.
Oh, nice.
So for anybody that has already listened to the first half, just, skip forward to the hour and 10-minute mark roughly, and you'll be able to pick it up where you left off, because, that's what I would do if I was you. But if you haven't heard the first half of our Dream Theater conversation, just buckle in, because it's going to be a couple hours.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts?
No, nobody wants to see my ugly mug anyway.
I don't know. If you go to that Nerf Herder Council webpage, you get a nice shot of it.
You do. You really do.
And then you get to play the Nerf Herder Council drinking game. Guess which one is Jon Drake.
All right. Well, I'm the fat one, so that's,
Wow.
Me too. Me too, man. Me too.
That's my wife's rack, and then the skinny one is my brother, and I'm the big one. So
beautiful.
Well, if you're ever in St. Louis, you have to stop at my house. I have a theater room, and it's nothing but Star Wars.
I will come out to St. Louis just to see that.
All right, yeah. I have I have all the
all right, we're doing a live recording
Star
at
Wars
Geoff's
fatheads.
house.
Yeah.
Oh, do you really got all the fathead ones?
Yeah, so
Those
yeah.
things are badass.
Yeah, so like the Darth Vader is actually like David Prowse size. It's 6'4.5".
Oh my God!
I actually I had to measure it to make sure it would fit where I wanted to put it on the wall. Yeah, I'm a total Star Wars nerd.
That's awesome, man. So which one of you guys is Dan?
That's me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And who else we got now? Joe.
So Joe's
down in front, but you can't see me.
All right, and I'm Geoff. I'm the one with the nerdy Star Wars guy that wants to.
Dan, Joe, and Geoff. Okay.
Nerf heard this.
Yeah, Nerf heard this, motherfucker.
Right. Nice. Yeah, dude. We're a new podcast. We've been trying to just like weasel our way into like everybody's collective unconscious.
Sure.
And because we've been doing this since I guess January, and we were just such big fans of all the other podcasts that were going on. But like, dude, one of the biggest things that bothered me about like a lot of the rock and metal podcasts is that like everybody is just so classic rock.
Very much so.
And like I don't have a problem with that necessarily, but like when we went to the Rock and Pod Expo, we were like, damn, I think we're the only people that don't listen to Kiss.
Right.
And then like I don't hate Kiss or have any animosity. The good thing for you is that we didn't ask you to come on our podcast just so we could talk shit about your favorite band.
That's okay.
Because that's what we did. That's definitely what we did to Toomey.
Yeah, he's like, those guys were totally bagging Pantera. I'm like, wow, they sandbagged you, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was for whenever, because we did that in like a multiple part episode for Pantera.
Yeah, we recorded with
Right.
like a whole bunch of different people for that.
Yeah, I played nice whenever Toomey was on, and it was just Dan. But as it progressed, I turned to the dark side and was shitting on Pantera.
More and more vile he became.
Yeah, it's just mainly because
right.
I can't stand Phil. Phil's just a douche. Outside of that, I love Pantera.
Dan's sitting in the background going, good.
Yeah, right. Good. Let the hate flow through you.
Well, it's so funny because that episode was so tongue in cheek. Like we wanted it to be funny. We wanted it to be ridiculous. And I felt so bad too because like whenever we did that segment with Toomey, and I said like, well, Dimebag's pretty good, but he's not, really very original or whatever. He got so mad.
You said he was adequate.
Yeah, I said he was a confident guitar player, and
Yeah,
he got
that's
so mad. Right. And then like I listened to the next episode of his podcast after that. I was like, oh my God, we pissed off Toomey. Like,
Well, he has informed me that he has thin skin, so it's like I guess so.
So does Phil Anselmo.
yeah, we hit him. We hit him where it hurt the most. I feel really bad about that. But hey, we like Dream Theater, so yay.
Hey, it works for me, man.
Right.
I've taken plenty of beating over Dream Theater anyway. So if you didn't like them, you know it's nothing new for me. I have to defend them all the time.
Well, I like them. I don't like everything they've done. Yeah. But it's definitely good outweighs the bad kind of thing.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I honestly, the stuff that I've kind of been like, on a few things has only been recently. Like the early stuff, really
badass.
up until last,
rock solid.
Yeah, up until the last couple albums, you know.
All right,
really
well, I think we're going to get along just fine in this this discography discussion because I think there's some opinions that are going to match up. Then,
are we ready to get started? Then
I think we
are.
Okay, then let me.
Joe's in charge.
Let me roll the freaking theme song here.
So do you guys record this live then?
We try to.
We're not going live to hard drive. You know, like if there's shit that people say that we need to cut out, which is mainly Joe having to censor me. we do that.
That's exactly how we do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do with the swear? No swearing, minimal swearing. I could
oh my
swear
god, dude!
Non-stop.
Fucking swearing.
Just don't talk about
day.
Something like that.
This is the part where Geoff gets censored.
Yeah, right.
I said once, and I got in trouble.
Yeah,
so there's that.
You just got in trouble again.
Look at that.
Oh man,
drives you guys nuts, huh?
Hell yeah.
Can't do that one. I don't even have a sister. I don't even know why it came up.
Oh wow.
Everybody is gonna know the beat by the end of this.
Dude, no structure. So I mean, literally, just sit back and relax.
And if you like to sit back and relax while Geoff gets censored, then you are ready for this episode of Discography Discussion. I am Joe. That is Dan. That is Geoff. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Drake from the Nerf Herder Council and Talk To Me podcast. Do I get to say both?
Of course you do. It's good promotion.
Lucky for you, I just did.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for asking me on, guys. I'm a huge Dream Theater honk, so this will be a blast.
Dream Theater, who's that?
Yeah, it's just some band.
Oh, okay.
Just some band.
Some shitty local band. I don't know.
Yeah, they had some weird purple bearded guy playing drums for him. I don't know.
That's Mike Portnoy's side project, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, you mean the guy from Avenged Sevenfold? Yeah, he was great.
Oh,
he just did that
one.
If we could not mention that band anymore, that'd be great.
Jesus Christ! Wow. Okay.
Never forget.
Sadly, one day we're gonna end up covering. You know.
Yeah, we will.
We talk about everybody.
Well, that's good. That'll be an episode if you need a co-host. Don't call me.
All right. Noted.
We gotta call Toomey back for that one, right?
Exactly. That'll be the Josh Toomey redux.
I'm calling Josh Toomey for 36 Crazy Fist. He seems to have as big of a heart on for them as I do.
He loves them, man. He's mined a lot of stuff out of him lately on our show. So
I just love his voice, man. I love Brock's voice, man.
I thought you were going to talk about Josh Toomey again.
Well, I do like Toomey, but yeah, I mean, you know, I like Josh. Sorry. Oh, damn. I like Brock from 36 Crazy Fist voice a lot.
He does have a pretty cool voice. They're not I never really got into that band, but I always thought the singer's voice was pretty cool. So,
well, I think that it's because they started off as kind of like this, like metalcore, you know, emo metal kind of thing. But I don't care. I like that stuff. So it's my generation. So.
Yeah, I was never really into that. It's close to my generation. I mean, I'm only 41 years old, but you know, and I kind of came up, you know, in the same scene that Toomey did.
Hey, I'm not the oldest one on the podcast for a change. This is weird.
Yeah, Jeff's old as shit.
Yeah, I'm older than Toomey, so this is great.
Well, there you go. See?
All right. You're the second oldest person we've had on the podcast.
I'm the elder statesman, man.
Yep.
What about Scott from Zayo? How old was he?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, he's probably older.
Yeah.
So you're the third. So Scott and then Travis was. He's in his
Travis. I don't know how old Travis is, but oh well.
And I think then Jon Drake.
Yeah. And now we got Jon Drake. So we've got a whole council, a Nerf Herder council.
We're gonna talk about that later, right?
I hope
Yeah, right?
so, man.
Yeah, I'm
ready
hoping
to-
eventually this evolves into Star Wars, but
Yeah, I totally. That's the angle I'm taking.
Well, before this does break down into Star Wars and Dream Theater simultaneously, if that's even possible, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to everyone for listening and for subscribing. If you are not a subscriber, you can find everything Discography Discussion at discussmetal.com. We are on Google Play. We are on iTunes. We are on Stitcher. We are on TuneIn Radio. So if you have an Amazon Echo product, you can say to it, Alexa, play the latest episode of Discography Discussion, and she will. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter at Discuss Metal. Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. It really helps us out and it lets us know you're listening. And Dan is going to tell you all about 5-star reviews.
Hey, we love 5-star reviews, and we want to thank everybody that has given us 5-star reviews, because now like our reviews actually show up on iTunes, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so I mean, if you like our podcast or you don't like it, just give us a review, whatever you think we deserve. It really helps us out as far as searchability. Really one of the best things you can do for a podcast that you enjoy is to give them a good review on iTunes. That's all I got to say about that.
And now Jon Drake is going to tell you all about the Nerf Herder Council.
We're the preeminent Star Wars podcast. No, I do have a Star Wars show that I host called the Nerf Herder Council, and you can find us at nerfherdercouncil.com. Spreaker and iTunes are our main platforms. We're also on Stitcher and Google Play. All of our episodes are available on YouTube if you like doing YouTube. It's a cool show, man. It's a little bit different than your standard Star Wars podcast. I mean, there's a whole ton of Star Wars podcasts out there if you're familiar with it, but a lot of it is, here's the news and keeping people up to date on what's going on and, director changes and, things like that. But we're more like if you were hanging out at the bar with your friends and you just started, bullshitting about Star Wars. And like, well, what's better, Empire or New Hope? Like that's kind of what we do. So it's a little more free form. It's discussion based and
That answer is easy.
The answer is Empire.
The answer is Empire.
Well,
Absolutely.
yes, but you'd be surprised how many people actually would disagree with that. It was kind of surprising. If you look it up
wrong
online.
people.
Those are the people that are
yeah.
nostalgic and not actually looking at the facts.
Right?
As long as they don't say Clone Wars, I'm happy.
You're not a fan of the Clone Wars cartoon, huh?
Oh, dude, I love the Clone
I
Wars
think that's the
cartoon.
best prequel.
I was talking about
related thing
episode
ever.
2, but all right.
Attack of the Clones, you mean?
All right, we can talk about that later. We're going to talk about Dream Theater.
Oh, yeah.
And John,
Yeah.
you neglected to mention the other podcast you're on.
Yes, I am the new co-host of Talk Toomey, and I think the only reason Josh asked me to be on was because he wanted to deflect the haters, so I collect all the hate mail and stuff like that for him.
It's beautiful,
And-
man.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
It's great.
It's been mining gold looking at the Facebook comments. It's hilarious sometimes the shit that people say. I think they're I think it's manufactured hate.
Yeah, for sure.
You're too nice of a guy for that to be the case.
I don't like things that are different. Those kind of people.
Well, it's fine with me. I've had so many people, because really Toomey found me when I was doing stuff with Aiken and Neely on the Classic Metal Show, and I get crapped on a lot there. But as I've said, on the air and stuff, I get a lot of messages from fans of the Classic Metal Show who just destroy me, in the chat room or on calls, but then they message me privately and say, thanks for being a cool sport, man. It's fun. We're just goofing around. So, and like I've always said, if you're going to put something out for public consumption, not everybody's going to like it. So go ahead and crap on me. I don't care. It's like, that's par for the course. So what the hell?
Absolutely the right frame of mind to have. There's way too many sensitive flowers out there. They get their panties in a twist just because you're talking a little bit of shit that goes against what they think.
I thought you were going to say snowflakes.
No, that's like a trigger word now. You can't say that.
So you're saying I need to beep that?
Well, I guess where we're coming from is we're like, man, there's a lot of hate. You know what? I think it's awesome that Toomey has a co-host, and I got to admit, the first episode I heard was the Chester Bennington thing, and I was like, yeah, who the fuck is this guy? But like,
Yeah.
but like I told Toomey, I was like, you know what though? I like that I'm not just hearing just him every week, and to have a differing opinion and to have actual conversation. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how much hate he's getting on here. Let's bring the hate. Let's bring the hate to our show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I honestly, a lot of it, of all things, what I catch the most grief for is my laugh. And it's funny because on the Classic Metal Show, the episodes I've done, you can really hear it, and it's just ridiculous. But it hasn't happened on Toomey's show, and people are like, that guy's laugh is annoying. I'm like, I've barely laughed at
I was
anything.
going to say, Toomey's show's not funny at all. So,
There's no humor. Well,
I'm fucked because I laugh all the time on this show.
we talked about gang rape this week, and there's a lot of humor to be mined there.
Dude, oh my God, dude. Like I was listening to that episode. So I quit using nicotine this week. And
you wanted to talk about Dream Theater with Jon Drake.
I was driving around. Well, I was driving around,
That's awesome.
so I'm at 1 week of no nicotine this week, and as of today, and
somebody get this man a button.
I don't want a button, but like I was like so strung out. Yeah, cut that joke. So no, but I was so strung out because I was having cravings or whatever, and like honest to God, your guys' conversation about Decapitated and the bus and all that stuff, like I was like, oh my God, I can get through this. Like it was so funny, and I mean it's not like funny, it's obviously horrible, but it was definitely something that I've been contemplating a lot about. So it was really cool to hear you guys' mindset on going into that.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, it was weird because halfway into the discussion, I realized I'm like, this is really starting to sound like we're kind of defending the band.
Right.
Like we're a couple misogynist pieces of shit. So I did the disclaimer, like we're not endorsing this, just so you know. It's just having been on tour buses when somebody goes, yeah, I got gang raped in a tour bus bathroom. It's like nobody gets gang raped in a tour bus bathroom.
Yeah, there's literally no room. Yeah, it's like it's the size of a high school locker. Like
yeah, it's so tiny. But
you got to back into it just to take a shit.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's crazy. And so as soon as she said that, I was like, well, are you sure it wasn't like out in the main area, like the kitchen or something, if this happened? Like,
well, and like,
know.
honestly, was like Decapitated have like a big tour bus? I mean, it's not like they're not like this great band or whatever, but like, I mean,
that's the other thing
they're
I thought, too.
Decapitated from Poland. They're not like Megadeth, like.
Right. They just have like an 86 Dodge Caravan.
Right. Yeah. I mean, shit. I remember going to shows and taking 2 cars. Like, I mean, come on.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I got to admit, man, I said, we talked about gang rape on the show, and then you started talking about, I've been off nicotine for a week, and I'm like, how is this going to come together? Is he trying to say that he was so like strung out for nicotine that he was considering gang rape? Like,
I was not. I was not.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Although weirdly enough, I did listen to a Decapitated record this week, which was weird because I was supposed to be listening to Dream Theater all week. But
but see previous statement about no nicotine.
Right. Yeah. So my decisions
exactly.
have been very, very strange the past week. But no, it was just one of those things where it's like I remember like I was like, I'm just gonna listen to this podcast and I'm not gonna think about me,
Yeah.
And that was all I was trying to. Dude, we suck up to Toomey a lot. We were the podcast that was like, we introduced Toomey as the legendary Joshua Toomey.
He probably loved it, man.
Because
he
compared
did.
to us, who was getting like, we were getting like 2 or 3 downloads per episode.
No, we're getting more than that.
We were getting more than that, but whatever. Like he was like this huge prolific. You had talked to everybody, podcaster. So we got really excited.
Yeah. Well, I was shocked when he asked me to co-host. I was like, who the hell am I? Like, my show gets maybe 100, downloads, a week talking about Star Wars.
Right. You're breaking open champagne bottles if you get 100 downloads.
I know. Yeah, seriously. And it's like, I'm busy ripping on David Prowse for having a lazy eye, and then you want me on your show? Like, you're actually established and doing something quality. Like,
right. Yeah.
So, it was kind of surprising to me too, but.
Joe's giving me this look like we need to fucking talk about Dream Theater.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we need to get on to when Dream and Day unite.
I'm going to say this. I don't know if we were on track to begin with or if we've been off track from the beginning, but Jon Drake, tell me about Dream Theater.
Well, Dream Theater is one of my 2 all-time favorite bands. It's Van Halen and Dream Theater. My introduction to Dream Theater, I'll make it real quick, but it's actually kind of a funny story. When I was a kid, I'm kind of musically narrow-minded, and I was driving around when I was 16 years old in 1992, and my buddy was playing the Images and Words tape, but I didn't hear Pull Me Under. And I was like, what is this crap? Like, these guys need to pick a style. This is awful. And then a few weeks later, I saw the video for Pull Me Under on MTV. I'm like, this song is awesome. But I couldn't remember the name of the band, so I kept going to the library to like rent the tape and stuff, and I kept getting Kicks and Trickster and all this garbage. So it went off my radar. I couldn't find it. I'm like, this isn't that. So
Fuck
fast
Trickster.
forward. Yo, dude, yeah, not good. And trust me, you know how shitty it was to have to listen to Kicks and Trickster? Like,
No,
oh my
trust
God.
me, I know.
Oof. But yeah, so like fast forward, it was I think like four years later, my buddy, my best friend, same guy, was in college. I went to visit him, and he had this Dream Theater CD. It looked pretty cool, and I completely forgot about the whole these guys suck thing. And I looked at the back track listing and it said Pull Me Under. I'm like, oh my God, that's that song I've been looking for forever. And I put it in and I listened to the whole scene. I'm like, this is great. He just starts laughing. He's like, that's that band you were ripping on like crazy. And it was. But ever since then, man, I've been a huge fan. And I first saw him in '99 on the Metropolis tour, and I literally have not missed a single tour since. And usually I see him a couple times, and I'm in their documentary on Score. I'm in their book. I'm just like super nerd, crazy fan for Dream Theater. So
Man, I would have loved to seen him on the Metropolis tour. That's probably my favorite album.
Really?
It was awesome. It's funny because it's like it was the first time I saw him, but it also marks the worst opening band I've ever seen in my life. And it is this band called the Star People, which I can't even describe how awful they were.
So funny story about a opening band. I take Dan to Chicago for the Progressive Nation tour.
Yeah.
Number one, we got to see Three, which was awesome. Between
Yes.
the Buried and Me, first time we got to see them live. Then Opeth comes on stage, and they blew Dream Theater out of the water. And I hate saying that at the start of the show, but it happened.
No kidding.
Yeah. It went from Opeth being their, was that Deliverance and Damnation, Dan, or was that...
Well, let's just say I was going through a huge death metal phase during this. So, of course, I was there to see Opeth.
And then Dream Theater came out and they soloed for 45 minutes, but we'll get into that
They
later.
were very masturbatory at that time.
Yeah, that's like it's like when I saw them on the 6 Degrees tour. They were doing one of their, they jam, in spots like pretty big, and John Petrucci and John Mayung actually were doing like a dual, solo, like, doubling each other. But while they were doing it, they were juggling a soccer ball between them. So they're on one leg doing these runs and chucking a soccer ball back and forth between each other with their other foot. I'm like, really? Like, we already know you're better than all of us. Just stop it already. What the hell? So,
Yeah,
all right.
Petrucci is way talented. I don't think he gets enough credit for how good he is. I mean, everybody, when you talk about Dream Theater and you talk about amazing musicians, everybody goes straight to Portnoy.
That's because he wants it that way.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think the thing with Petrucci is that because Dream Theater are labeled as progressive metal, and to people that aren't really into them, they just think that all they do is noodle. They just think that all he does is play a million notes and that's all there is to him, which is completely not the case. So I think he gets unfairly stigmatized based on the things that people don't know about the Dream Theater catalog.
Which
we'll
there's
get
a
into
lot
tonight.
of. Yeah, I think we should jump right in.
All right.
Works
so
for me.
1989, where Dreams and Day unite.
Yes.
Who wants to recap Majesty, or can we just go straight into it?
Well, let's just say this. If you don't already have this record, good luck.
Yeah.
This is one of the really hard records to find.
Do any of you guys have the remastered version that was out for like a minute?
No.
In
I've been
unison.
looking for that forever. And you can't even find it on eBay anymore.
It was limited
Oh, man.
too, wasn't it? Wasn't it limited to like 1,000 copies or something?
Yeah, there was not a lot of them.
There was not
Really,
much.
How about this? I know somebody who has it, but that's as close as I get.
right?
And there's no way in hell that he'd sell it.
Oh, well, at this point, hell no. But if he wants to, just let one of us know, because we'll, especially me, I'm a completist. But really, the only way to get it anymore is the Ytse Jam bootleg from Los Angeles in 2004.
Yeah. It's and it sucks too, because like this was an example of a band that got fucked over by their label, essentially.
Mechanic, yeah.
You know, they had put this record out, and honestly, it should have been huge. But I think they only like distributed it like in their local scene, more or less. Like it didn't really go worldwide or anything, and so the band wasn't really able to like really. I mean, at that time, I mean they're not traveling out of state. They're brand new, and they've just come up with this collection of songs, and it's sad because like this was really, I mean, to me, almost a better introduction to the band than like Images and Words. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I mean, they definitely didn't get to tour on it. They played, I think, a sum total of like 6 shows, and they were all around their where they were living in New York.
Yeah, and like nothing at all. Yeah.
Yeah, but the only thing they got out of it was press reviews because the label at least sent it out, to some magazines, and it was pretty universally regarded as a pretty good record. So it was a real shame that Mechanic just didn't put anything behind it. So,
and Charlie Dominici, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Yes, Charlie Dominici. Do you guys like him or?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it would be really interesting to hear later Dream Theater stuff with him on it.
Yeah.
Just as kind of like a testing the waters. I mean, obviously, I don't have a problem with what came after, but like.
I guess I'm going to go ahead and state it and be controversial right off the get-go.
Wow, way to be a dick, Geoff.
Yep. James is my least favorite part of the band.
You're not alone.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not really controversial, unfortunately.
Well, no, I didn't. Yeah, he just doesn't do it for me.
You guys suck.
Well, I listened to this record.
He does it for this guy.
I bring this record home because it has the Ytse Jam on it, and I'm trying to, get acquainted with past Dream Theater. Images and Words was the first record I got my hands on, and of course, once you see the Ytse Jam live and you're a guitar player, you have to go home and learn it. Well, it's on the other record, so I got to go find it. Yep. And I'm like, wow, Dream Theater was just power metal. Like, we're not even progressive here. This is just straight good orchestration, good musicians. This is power metal.
I disagree. I mean, I think this is more straightforward for sure, but I think there's still elements of progressive in this.
I'm going to side with Dan on this.
I'm not
as
going to
well.
lie. Like, I hate that term. I hate the term progressive music because most of the time it just means like we were aimless and we had no direction as a band.
Yeah, right.
But in the case of Dream Theater, I thought this was better than just your standard power metal.
I think and the craziest thing to me, I played in a band when I was 18, 19 years old. These guys, it's like to write that type of music with that level of sophistication and ability at such a young age is just, it always stands out to me as, it's for people who don't like this record. I always kind of look at it as, well, it's a bunch of 18-year-old kids. This is unbelievable for people of that age to be writing stuff like this. So it always has a little bit of a caveat to me that they were young, but it's still excellent. I mean, stuff, Fortune and Lies, and I actually really like Status Seeker, even though it's the last song they did and it's all commercial and stuff. I think it's got a really cool hook and everything. And
no, I definitely agree. I mean, I think, and it's weird, I was actually telling John this earlier this week, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, I can't remember, but that I have a copy of this record, but it's on cassette. And I'm 90% sure it's a bootleg. Like it just says Dream Theater on the front. It's like a plain, like it's like there's like clouds in the background and it says Dream Theater, and then it's like a white cassette tape, and it's got gold lettering.
Yeah, that sounds like a bootleg.
Yeah, it's like, but I mean,
I don't think that matches up.
It actually sounds pretty good though. Like, I mean, for a bootleg, it's badass.
Right?
I had no issue with it, but yeah, it was. But no,
maybe
I thought
we need to get
you
some hearing aids.
I thought this was a really good introduction to the band, to be honest. You got the Dream Theater experience here.
Yeah, you got the gist of it right off the get-go. Like a lot of bands, it's kind of they meander before they kind of figure out who they are. Mm-hmm. You could tell that they had a thought and they kind of followed it through the entire discography. I mean, sure, it moved a little bit, but they're straight up, I guess quote unquote progressive metal / rock with a little bit of power behind it. I mean, it's they've always kind of had a similar sound. When when Dream Theater is on, you know it's Dream Theater.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah.
And
Even if somebody else is singing it.
yeah.
Yeah, they
Or playing the
definitely
drums.
have that style. Or play the drums, yes. Discussion for later tonight.
Yes,
Right,
it
for
is.
sure.
We're gonna get
We're
there.
gonna get into that. Yeah.
And Kevin Moore on keys, superior to everything that followed. And
Wonderful.
I know
Yeah,
he only
wonderful.
did 3 records, but he knows how to be a keyboardist in this type of band.
Yeah, but that's my favorite era of Dream Theater. Honestly,
The
like
early years.
those first few records, man. Like, because like to me, that's the definitive sound of the band, which I do. Controversial statement. Think that they did return to later on, but
They had a moment.
yeah, I mean, not that I was like super happy that the last record was 2.5 fucking hours long, but
Oh my god.
it's like I'm cramming this in a week. Like we were talking about Dream Theater for a while, and I'm very familiar with like almost everything all the way up until about like 2013. But then I had to like familiarize myself afterwards, and I was like,
Right.
oh shit, I gotta listen to this for 2 fucking hours.
It's definitely not something you could just listen to a few songs. It's,
No, and you gotta have like the lyrics pulled up. You know, like
Yep.
it's a process, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a lyric guy. If you listen to the podcast, I'm all about the feel.
You are now entering Geoff's atmosphere.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's because that's my favorite fucking word when I'm talking about bands, man. The atmosphere is so important to me. I don't give a shit about lyrics. I just want to close my eyes and relax and just totally, dissolve into the song. I don't want to have to think. If I want to think, if I want to think, I'll learn about thermodynamics.
Right.
Which I might know a
actually
little
agree
bit
with you
about.
Completely.
Yeah,
right.
Dan is like the total opposite. Like, he is so analytical. I'm going to talk shit because he just went to go take a piss. He's so fucking analytical. And I'm like, dude, like, can you even relax while listening to music? Or you just got to, like, think about everything all the time? And because we're that's part of the reason why we're doing the podcast. We're total opposites on how we listen to music. He's the ultimate, consummate analytical listener, and I'm the dude. I'm like, dude, just, if it was legal in the state of Missouri, let me get high, and listen to some music and just totally veg out.
Right. Yeah, I'm a guitar guy myself, so the only time I really notice lyrics is if they're obviously shitty. Other than that, I'm always into the guitar, which is weird being a singer, but I pay attention to guitar more than anything else. So
Well, you just got a fan in Joe because he is a guitar junkie.
I was about to say, speaking of guitar guys, if nobody stops me, we're going over to Images and Words.
works for me.
It works for me as well.
Metropolis.
Works for me too. I've got another beer. I'm good to go.
All right. So 1991,
Dude, is that a Pabst Tall
92,
Boy?
excuse me.
Yeah, it's a Pabst Tall Boy.
Nice.
Uh-oh, we got hipster beer on the show.
Oh, dude, you have no idea how far down the rabbit hole goes. we were just on the Drunken Lullabies podcast. So,
I was saving it for later,
yeah.
but tell me all about it.
dude, that was
we'll
great.
talk about it later. Let's talk about Dream Theater.
All right.
They're our shit tonight. Come on.
Yeah, they are.
1992, Images and Words. Thank you, God.
Yes.
This is a great fucking album, man.
Dude, I mean, and what most people would call Dream Theater's debut.
Right?
Because
like,
it's the first one with James, I guess.
I can stream it on Spotify or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the first one on a major label. It was actually accessible in record stores outside of Long Island, New York.
Right.
And
Which
I
was
think- I
weird
think-
because they were part of MCA, weren't they? Which is that's a bigger label. That's weird. Yeah, and I know it's weird that it happened that way.
Yeah, Mechanic was the label for When Dream and Day Unite.
Yeah, but I thought
it
Mechanic was
was-
part of MCA.
They were like a subsidiary type of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it just never had the distro. I mean, I think one of the things that gets overlooked with Images and Words is the fact that the disaster that was, their label situation with Mechanic actually was really the catalyst for Images and Words being as good as it was because they went a year and a half without a label, without a singer, and they just had time to just sit on this material. And it was really like writing a first record all over again because, you know, when you're in a band, I mean, you know, you have all this time to write your first album. If you get signed, then it's like, okay, you've got 2 weeks to do your second record, and you're like, ah, crap. But with this one, they almost had a second shot at the first record because they had so much downtime, and I think that's why the record's so good. And it was almost like, you know, a shot at redemption almost, even though When Dreaming Day and Night was good, it was still, you know, they got a second chance to introduce themselves to people and make a record, and I think that gets overlooked a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because we've talked about that quite a bit on how much time it takes. You know, you have forever to make your first album, and then after that, it's just like hurry up and you're in fast forward, and you got to do whatever the hell the label and the producer's telling you to do.
Yep.
I'd like to congratulate Jon Drake for presenting Dan's point.
Oh yes.
Well, this is well, yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that that I love about this record too is that, like, yeah, sure, you know, this was still a progression, and I thought that was interesting because I almost feel like on the first record there was a little bit of like kind of a holding back. This record really delivered in all the ways that you would want a heavy metal progressive band to deliver in. I feel like this record is more complex. The hooks are there, and that's one of the things I love about early Dream Theater is the actual hooks on the songs.
Yeah, that's really good.
And you don't,
Yeah, I agree.
you know, because as time goes on, those hooks kind of disappear. You know, they get lost in, you know,
They start
15-minute
meandering.
songs, and you
Yeah.
know. But I feel like here it was like literally like the most. They were literally the most in the pocket that they had been.
Most succinct. Yeah.
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 I mean, and the vocals are actually better than they were before, and you know. That's hard for me to admit because
This is whenever James was good. I mean,
yeah.
I know
I don't think
forward,
he's bad now, but
I would say these are the best vocals done by James LaBrie. I don't know if I'd say they're the best in Dream Theater.
he. Well, I know that as time went on, he ended up with some sort of virus that totally fucked up his chords.
That was in after a break in Cuba on the Awake tour.
Yeah, and it took years for him to get back to where he wanted to be. And
Yep.
as you're going through the discography, I mean, you can tell, you know, he doesn't have the range, and he can't hit the notes the way that he used to because of that.
Yep, definitely.
But yeah, this is probably my second favorite album. And I know for most people this is probably their first, but for me it's my second.
It's actually my second favorite record also, I would have to say.
Okay.
So I'm one of the rare ones that also does not have my favorite record is probably going to be a shock to everybody, but I mean, I think you guys hit on a really good point about, you know, the melodies and the hooks and all that stuff. It's like they took the best parts of the first record and really tightened up on them, and it just everything on this album, like the first time I heard it, it was just so dynamic, and the themes were so present. Like there was just every song you just knew, like you guys used the perfect word, the hooks, they were so strong. And you know, the way they really kind of developed what would become a trademark for them. Even though the songs were long, they would establish a motif, and like you'd have this kind of melody, you know, like you say, the hook, and they would go away from it to noodle and do this other stuff, but then all of a sudden they come back to it. So it's like it kind of anchored you within that song, and I always thought that was really cool. So
does that mean that Metropolis Part 1 is your standout cut, John?
I would have to say yes. It's either that or Learning to Live for me.
yeah, Metropolis Part 1 is definitely my favorite as well. And it's weird too because, like, I mean, it's not weird, but like it's almost like they did approach this almost as a debut record. Because, I mean, they're not stupid. They know nobody fucking heard the first one, you know?
Yeah.
But they didn't care as much. And
No.
I thought that was really great because they're still putting their best foot forward here. You know, I mean, a lot of bands, you know, will live off of the past success that they've had. But like with a band like Dream Theater, as phenomenal as they are now and as respected as they are now, back then, they're still trying to make an impact. And and this record definitely like encapsulates that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you know, with Pull Me Under becoming the hit that it was just very ironic because it ended up, I mean, it's what launched them, but it's also what screwed them. So it was a really ironic song in that respect because the label was just crushing them for another hit single for, you know, the next 2 records until they basically told them, well, fuck off, you know, we're doing it our way or you're getting nothing. So
can you get hit singles out of a band like Dream Theater? Really?
Well, that's where I respect them a ton. The fact that they did tell the label, "Fuck you, this is how we're gonna do it. Either you keep us or you don't." But this is our band. We're gonna do it how we want to do it. There's so many bands out there that bend and break to the pressure of a record label trying to impose, a quote unquote, hit producer on them to make them, radio friendly. I mean, that's not who Dreams Theater's audience is. I mean, it's all of us nerds that fucking love this shit. That's who buys their records. So, I mean, why don't you cater to your audience? There's so many record producers and record labels out there that are just so nearsighted they just don't get it. And I'm glad that they through all these decades they've stayed strong and stayed to their stayed true to themselves, because there's so many bands that don't.
Yep, they definitely weren't able to do it at first without a lot of argument. I am trying to remember the name of the studio that recorded this.
Was it Bear Claw?
Bear Tracks.
Yeah. Or Bear Tracks.
Bear Tracks. Yeah, they recorded a bunch of stuff at Bear Tracks.
And it kind of made me laugh because, finding this music later, you pick up on the little things that the band says. Like everybody asked Portnoy, like, why is your snare drum triggered? It's like, well, that was their thing. Why does the drums and guitar sound this way? Well, it was their thing. I know that they made a lot of good music. And this might be the most commercial record that they had. It definitely was their debut to the masses, and it was probably James LaBrie's best performance. So you've got a band that they're not progressive by name. They're just a rock band, they're a metal band, and they just happen to be the best musicians at the gig.
Yep, totally. And I mean, the other thing is, like, they had such a hard time making the record because they were battling with the producer constantly. So the fact that they did something so legendary and of such high quality while, every day was just a war with the guy that they were working with is pretty incredible in its own right.
Well, I think sometimes that tension sometimes brings about just crazy artistic magic. So
yeah,
you're going to hear about that a lot on the next one.
Oh yeah, right.
Say hello to Kevin Moore and say goodbye to Kevin Moore.
Yeah, I said we got to start moving along.
1994, my favorite Dream Theater record. John, say it with me if you know it. Puppies on Acid.
Puppies on Acid.
AKA Awake. It's 6 a.m. Dan, this is all you.
What the fuck, Joe? This is where it got weird for me. And not in a bad way. I mean, I fucking love weird music, but damn. Like, okay. So at this point, Dream Theater has been sold to me as this, like, holy fucking shit. They are a progressive band. They are pushing metal in a direction that has not been pushed before, which was kind of ridiculous in that, like, I was listening to, like, 94, I was listening to, like, death metal and,
94, I was listening to Sunny Day Real Estate.
Shut the fuck up, Geoff. Yeah. So nice. I was listening to, like, death metal and, like, like early Venom and shit like that. Like, cause I'm Mr. Heavy, right? Like, I listen to, like, really heavy shit. And
thrashy shit.
Thrashy, heavy, deathy metal, a little bit of hardcore and stuff. So, like, I had no idea what to even think about this record because it blew my mind. Like, it's not that Dream Theater isn't heavy. Like, when they want to go balls to the wall, they can absolutely go balls to the wall.
Yeah, they can hang with anybody when they want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a mixed feeling for me because like you've got like these multi-part songs.
Yep.
You know, and I remember just being like, at the time, I remember being very like against it, like, oh God, you know, I'm more of an Obituary fan, or you know, I'm more of a Death fan or whatever. But like, I mean, as I've gotten older, I've really started to appreciate this record because it was Dream Theater's first step forward. Because you could write off the first two records as kind of your generic power metal, heavy metal stuff, and like I could see why people didn't like it because they're like, this sounds like shit that was from the 80s, and this is 1994, so like everybody's trying to be as against that as they can be.
Yeah, grunge is totally in full swing right now.
Yeah, so like I get it. I get why I didn't like it at first, but I totally get why it's become one of my favorite Dream Theater records because it is heavier than the previous two, and it is it's just out there in space, dude. Like I can't.
6 o'clock, caught in a web.
Yeah, dude. Like
voices, the silent man.
It's hard for me to find words.
The fucking mirror.
And I apologize. I've been drinking a bit, but like it's
This album is foreshadowing to what you're gonna get.
It's like everything you're gonna get. Like this is the new norm, kids. So I hope you're on board because this is where we're gonna go.
I mean, this is a close third for me. I have a hard time, on where my rankings are, but this is a fantastic album. I mean, just cover to cover. I'm one of those nerds that will sit down and I want to listen to the whole fucking thing.
You are now entering Geoff's atmosphere for the second time.
Yep, I hate fuckers who put their shit on Spotify and hit random.
But no lyrics, you fuck.
Yeah, that's right. All right, I talked that shit while you were in the bathroom, man.
Tells a great story.
Well, I don't care. The music tells a great story. If I sat down and listened to the lyrics, I'd probably be blown away. But the music itself, still, is just out of this world, man. I love that shit. It's funny that John, that you mentioned that you're a vocalist and you pay attention to everything else. I am totally a vocals guy. I like the sound of the voice. I don't pay attention to what they're singing. And I like everything as a collective whole. I view it I did a lot of classical music before I got into metal. I played violin, viola, and cello. So that's my background. So I'm like ultimate nerd when it comes to music.
Right.
So that stuff with, when you go back and you look at, a lot of that classical music, there's so much emotion and there's so much feeling in it. And that's, people that just think, classical music, oh, that's so technical. No, it's not. And like, it's all about the feel. And this album's got so much feel to it. It's awesome.
It's also really fucking heavy for 94.
Yeah.
Can I throw that out there? Like, it is the heaviest Dream Theater has been to this point.
Yeah, to this point.
Yeah.
I actually think it's also one of their most, if not their most diverse record, because you go from stuff like 6 a.m., but then you've got The Mirror, but then you got Silent Man, and then you've got Lie, and then you've got Space Divest at the end. I mean, it really is kind of a roller coaster of a bunch of different stuff, and it's just awesome how it does that. And it's one of the most fascinating things to me. And
I will have to admit, whenever we hit the bottom part of the roller coaster, which is the ballad-y kind of stuff, I want to get off.
It only goes downhill after this.
Yeah, that's mainly because, this is our website's discussmetal.com. That should kind of give you a hint on why we're more into the metal side of things and less into the ballad side of things.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that it wasn't specifically for us.
Yeah, I mean, I like all of it. I mean, and in saying so, I really think that one thing about this record is that I think this record kind of actually established their fan base, because with Images and Words, you had people that bought that record because of Pull Me Under. And
absolutely, yeah.
And then with this one, if you stuck around after Awake, you were a Dream Theater fan. If you were like, fuck this, then you were a Pull Me Under fan. So this one really kind of weeded out the people who were either fans or just, guys who listened on the radio. And after this, they were, it's kind of like, culling the herd, so to speak, with this record. So
yeah, this is whenever the nerds started buying all of their shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the truth. I mean, because that's who stuck. Was the people who were complete music nerds and like, this shit is amazing. But before then, it was, some people were looking for that next single, like we were talking about earlier. It's no longer about that. This is serious music for the music.
Yeah, they're
nerd.
not a singles band. They're not like they're not gonna rock your top 40. Like.
Although they do in Japan and
this
Finland.
is stuff that we really don't. Japan's awesome, but
that's right.
Like, this is stuff that you're not. If your favorite song in 1994 is "Come as You Are" by Nirvana, you're not gonna fucking care about what Dream Theater's doing.
Mine was 7 by Sunny Day Real Estate.
Shut the fuck up, Geoff. So he's like Donnie. He's like Donnie from The Big Lebowski. We just have to.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie. You're out of your element.
Right.
Oh, dude, that is.
Jeff is headed for a world of pain.
Oh,
that is true.
That is so good, man. We're cutting that clip and we're gonna be playing that soundbite over and over again.
So Jeff's Donnie. Joe's the dude, and I guess that makes me Walter.
There you go.
Nice.
What am I going to take?
What was that shit about Vietnam, Walter?
Yeah. This has nothing to do with Vietnam, Walter. Well, not directly, but. That is a fantastic movie. We'll have to do another episode just based on the Big Lebowski.
I feel like
writing that down.
I feel like this is not the last time we're gonna hear from Jon Drake.
Dude, you just got us so much hate mail, and we're only 45 minutes in.
Hell yes.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'll take it.
Speaking of hate mail, why don't we move on to Falling into Infinity?
Oh my God.
Oh, I was going to talk about the mirror for 20 more minutes.
Talk
but
about the
hey.
mirror for a second, Joe. You earned that.
No,
buddy.
dude. This
You
is
got this, buddy. You earned it.
Awake is Dream Theater in my opinion, and I can stop there. You should listen to the whole record except for Space Dive Vest, or maybe it was Lie. I can't remember. John, which song was it that Kevin Moore snuck on the record and then quit?
That was Space Dive Vest.
That's why I skipped the last track. Ayo!
They just played it live for the first time 2 tours ago.
Really?
Damn.
Did he
Yeah,
come
that
back
was-
for a minute or something?
No, this is so. What it is.
Oh wait, I
was-
forgot. Mike Portnoy's no longer in the band, and he's not holding on to a fucking grudge.
Exactly. It was the one song that they swore they would never ever play live.
Once again,
And
Mike Portnoy
so when
wanted you to think that.
Yes. Well, it worked apparently. But yeah, when they went out and did the tour for the self-titled record, it was the 20th anniversary of Awake, and then it was the 15th anniversary of Metropolis. So they actually did like half. They did the second half of the record of Awake, and they did Space Dive Vest. It was the first time they'd ever played it live. So that was kind of cool. I saw that tour in Chicago, and it was cool to see it. I'm actually one of the people that actually really digs that tune just because it is so kind of quirky. It's got a really weird vibe to it, which I've always been into. So you're talking about feel. I think that song has got a really weird feel to it that I always kind of liked.
So are you located out of the Chicago area?
No, I'm actually in a suburb of Cleveland, but I road trip. I refuse to miss a Dream Theater tour.
Okay.
Chicago, the shows in Chicago it's only like a 5.5 hour drive, and the last 3 tours they've played on a weekend.
Only.
Yeah, right. Well, I sang in a band in Dayton, Ohio, which is like 3 hours away for years. And so I would make, a there and back trip in one night of a 6-hour round trip. So driving is not a big deal for me. So it doesn't really bother me. But, I'm actually going to see them on this tour in Chicago again. So
Maybe they're going to play New Millennium from Falling into Infinity, 1997.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you
They
what, they won't
might.
be coming to St. Louis. They'll get their shit stolen.
Dude, nobody wants to come to
Jeff
St.
is a
Louis
professional.
now.
Don't come here. Your shit'll get stolen, guy.
yeah. Hey, my band got our stuff stolen last November, so I can feel that pain.
We have to deal.
man.
We have to deal with living in St. Louis constantly. It's been rough as of late.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wish I could say that it's all like butterflies and puppy dogs, but it's
it's
not.
more like straight up race wars.
Yeah. You're talking about Cleveland. My parents lived in Avon for like a decade.
My wife's aunt lives there.
Okay, yeah, they just moved here a few years ago after they retired.
Very cool. Yeah, I've been here my whole life, but like I said, I road trip a lot to see bands and stuff. Van Halen, Dream Theater.
I'm sorry,
Anthrax.
there's not a whole lot of hockey in Cleveland. So,
Dude, don't bother coming to St. Louis because nobody comes to St. Louis.
One of my good buddies is from there, and he says the same thing.
Dude, it's shitty. Like, I mean, I hate to bring this up on every single podcast, but like, St. Louis is like the worst town for metal that could exist. And I don't even care what kind of metal you play. You could play modern metal, you could play old school metal, you could play like 80s metal. It doesn't matter. Nobody gives a fuck. Like, it's all about rap.
It's all about rap,
Or
Breaking Benjamin, The Urge,
yeah,
Offspring.
Tool, yeah, like all that shit. Like everything
that was late 90s, early 2000s, we're literally stuck in time.
Yeah, like our most like modern station still regularly play shit like Tool and Temple of the Dog, and like it's
good stuff. You just wish that they
good.
would play
Some
of the other stuff.
Because I've been bred my whole life to believe that it's good, but like it's frustrating.
Temple of the Dog is fucking awesome.
If you're
man.
a new band in St. Louis, I am so sorry.
Yeah, see, I mean, if you're into metal, at least on a local level, Cleveland's where to go because that's all there is. Oh my God,
That's awesome.
you go out.
I'm so jealous.
No, don't be jealous. Please don't be jealous. It's nothing but horrible Cookie Monster garbage.
Oh,
And
but see, I mean, that's us. We love that shit.
Dan likes Cookie Monster.
I do love Cookie Monster vocals.
But you like the good stuff. I'm talking crap.
Oh, you don't know, man. I'm the guy that said that Death was better than Pantera. So,
Well, it's,
because you think you're the most hated man in podcasting. I'm the guy that said that Dimebag Darrell wasn't that original. So,
That's okay, man. Everybody's entitled to a wrong opinion every now and then. So
yeah, it's all good. And I'm sure it's wrong, but what are you gonna do?
yeah, right. So
Just let me breathe.
Falling into infinity, as I was saying earlier, my favorite record may surprise some people, and we're at it.
No kidding.
So,
I am definitely surprised.
I am surprised as well.
I think the reason for me is that it's the most loose of their records, and it's the only one that really has kind of like a more open jam kind of a feel. It just has a little bit of a different vibe from anything else they did, and I really get into it. So I mean, it's also got Trial of Tears, which is one of my all-time favorite Dream Theater tunes. I just really like the feel of it. The production I've always thought was pretty cool. I've really dug it, and I absolutely love Derek Sherinian's keyboard playing. I think he's I love Kevin Moore, and I think Derek Sherinian at least did justice to I would say the way that Kevin Moore brought to the band, and by that I mean it the first few records, if you listen to them, and I'm not very musical, I'm an idiot because I'm a singer, but it seemed to be more upbeat, like major key sounding stuff. And I think when Jordan Rudess came in, it kind of got a little darker, and I like the stuff that's a little more in that lighter category, and Derek Sherinian and Kevin Moore both had that.
This is definitely before they started being up their own ass. They're on the way to being up their own ass, but this is still kind of, we're going to try something a little bit different. A little bit more of the jam is going to come out in the final product. Because before this, it was less about jamming and more about orchestration. And I think this is where we kind of just started hanging out in the deep end a little bit. Like, well, it's okay to sneak the jam in, which... And this is where Mike Portnoy starts to show off how good he is or isn't, depending on how you look at it. I mean, you have this giant drum kit, and I can only hear 6 pieces on the album, so come on, dude. It's all about looks, and I'm cool with it. Don't get me wrong, Mike Portnoy is amazing as a player. But this is where they start kind of being up their own ass, because I listened to this, and it sounds very, very similar to Liquid Tension Experiment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and they were doing that at the same time. I mean, the first Liquid Tension experiment was 98. Falling into Infinity was 97. So they were just kind of in that headspace.
Right.
So, but I mean, one of my all-time favorite things they ever did is on this record, and it's short, but Hell's Kitchen to me is one of the coolest musical things they ever did. Something about that is so catchy to me. So it stands out to me right there in the middle. And it was,
and James isn't singing.
Yeah, there you go. So if you don't like James, this is for you. But it's funny because Hell's Kitchen was supposed to be the middle part of Burning My Soul, but they decided, the label's like, oh, this is too long.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Singles. Yeah, it was the middle part of Burning My Soul, and they took it out and made it its own piece because the label didn't want some gigantic 12, 13-minute monster. So they had to make it something separate.
And here I was giving them kudos for not kowtowing.
Oh, they kowtowed like crazy. They actually, You Not Me was written with Desmond Child.
Oh, wow. That I did not know.
Yep. And
Mr. Generic.
They were the label was all over them for these hits. They actually had to go back to the label about, I think it was 3 times with different batches of songs because they sent them the first batch and the label went, no, give us more. So they had to go write more, and then the label went, no, and they had to go back a 3rd time, and then finally the label's like, well, we can't wait anymore, so just go ahead and start recording.
Did the label not realize what band they signed?
Yeah, honestly, that's why they have the video for Hollow Years, because they were trying to recreate that and get on the ballad train and get it on MTV, but it was almost never played, and it was just boring.
Yeah, the ballad train is like the worst train to be on.
Right. I mean, that being said, I love Hollow Years, don't get me wrong, that's a great song, but this record was it was the record that almost broke the band up.
But it's not why you buy a Dream Theater record.
No, not
it
at
might
all.
be a good song, but total douchebag can write good songs every now and again.
This was also the debut of the
Kid Rock.
This is also the debut of the Mike Portnoy kick drum. That very triggered, slight little bit of reverb. Yeah, it never went away after this, and I get it. You're Mike Portnoy. You want a signature sound. The only drummer that has a signature kick that sounds good is Lars Ulrich.
Oh, fuck you.
I said that has a signature kick.
Oh my God.
Shitty kick?
Jesus
I was going to say, by signature, do you mean played absolutely horribly?
You can say it however you want. It sounds good. This kick sounds flat and mediocre. I don't like it.
Sounds like a thing that exists.
It does exist.
That is literally the best way I can describe it. It sounds like a thing that exists in the world that we exist in.
Right.
Well, it's almost like if the band was going to break up, they might as well just be up their own butt, because this is where it started.
This is.
Oh, you're talking shit on his favorite album.
This is the beginning of. This is the beginning, and again, it's the beginning, so it's not terrible on its own. But this is the beginning of Dream Theater being completely up their own anal cavity.
Yeah, I could see that. Like I say, to me, this one sounds different than anything they did. It was definitely a little different from, from Images and Words and When Dreamy Day Unite, the first 3, and then nothing after it sounded like this either. It just wasn't. This was the one album that wasn't overly precise and whatnot, and you can hear their desire to try and write another hit single because there's so many. The songs are a little shorter. They're a little more stock in terms of the arrangement in some places, and some of the best stuff from the record never made it on there because the label stuff like Raise the Knife was the really cool song, but didn't make the record, and so it was. Like I said, it was very different, and I know I'm almost universally alone in saying it's my favorite record, but
it's all right, man.
Something about it I just love,
It is a great record.
They were trying new things. I think there was a sense of this primordial we're gonna try to reach out and do something different here that's not going to be expected. But again, you've got the label that's like, no, fuck you. We need a 3.5 minute single, and that's just not this band. And you can't expect that type of radio perfection from a band like Dream Theater, especially at this point. I mean, like, they're not out to please anybody other than themselves or other musicians that may happen to be fans of the band. And so I think this was a tough record for them because they had to kind of overcome that. Like, okay, from here on out, we don't give a shit about public opinion.
Yeah,
we're just doing what we want to do.
Does that mean we're going to segue?
This is also when their main fan base was in Japan, where musicianship is far
because Japan
more
is
appreciated.
Awesome. Japan is the
Dan
shit.
knocks my phone out of my hand.
Yeah, well, you deserved it. You piece of shit.
Well, I see where he's going with this. So
I'm a little drunk. So
let's teleport to 1999.
Oh, concept albums, my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Oh my God, this is my favorite album.
All right, let me introduce this properly. You are now entering Jeffrey's atmosphere.
Oh, dude.
Shit.
Dude, this is when you finally get to listen to an album as like it was one massive track. I know most people can't stand that shit, but
is that your love of Sunny Day Real Estate coming out, or
no? That's my love of Swallow the Sun coming back. Since we were talking,
I don't want to talk about Swallow the Sun anymore.
Well, of the records that Dream Theater has done that are just one track, this would be the best one.
Yeah, yes. I mean, fair enough.
This is like I said, this was my live introduction to the band, and I still remember when it came out. We had our local rock station on Sunday nights had a show called The Metal Show. It's actually how I met Chris Aiken, and he and I have been friends for years. So when this came out in '99, Aiken and his co-host Warlock, my other buddy Matt Wardlaw, they played on the show this entire record, and they had announced in advance a few weeks ago, we're going to play the whole Dream Theater record, man. And I'll never forget sitting there listening to this at my girlfriend's house and just completely nerding out. Like, this is like damn near perfection. It's so goddamn good.
Yeah, this is fan-fucking-tastic. There's no other way to put it. For this being their first, true attempt at a concept album, I mean, they hit a grand slam. I mean, this thing is great. I mean, I know that that's probably the generic, this is my favorite album statement, but it is my favorite album. I mean, it doesn't have my favorite song on it. Actually, we haven't even talked about my favorite song yet, which might be a surprise to some, but yeah, this album is just cover to cover. It's what you want. It is fantastic.
2 more records until Mike Portnoy gets his signature snare. I'll wait until then to bitch about the drums.
Was this the point where Mike Portnoy was like, yeah, this is my band?
I'm taking over. It really was him and Petrucci.
Yeah, it was literally like, this is just our thing. All the other guys.
They actually said that.
Yeah,
which is cool with me.
I believe it.
Him and Petrucci together, man. I mean, they're the main cogs, in my opinion. When Portnoy leaves, my interest wanes a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, we will talk about Mr. Mancini.
Discussion for later.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Since it's coming up, I'm gonna
drink some more beer. Just wait up.
Yeah.
Okay. I can drink beer, just not as good as Dan can.
Nice.
I don't know about good.
Yeah, no, they actually said that they had band meetings before they started this album where Petrucci and Portnoy told the other guys, like, look, we're taking charge. Like, this is our thing. And because before they would just argue and bitch for 2 weeks about, literally 2 notes. And finally, they did all the work anyway, and everybody knew it. So they just said, look, we're gonna make the decisions, and you guys go along for the ride. And they went, okay. So no pun intended there, along for the ride. But it really, this was the first time they did that, and I think it was, man, the results were awesome. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but to me, for like hard rock and heavy metal, at least for me, like the benchmark concept record is Operation Mindcrime, and I think this is completely on par with that, at least for me.
Really?
Unfortunately for me, the standard when it comes to concept record will always be Colors by Between the Buried and Me, because I'm waiting for that one to be beat. And that's actually the prime reason why we talk about Dream Theater being up their own ass. Colors was a great record. Prior to that, we got records that had maybe a concept, but really were still a collection of songs. Once we start being completely up our own ass and everything is a concept record, you can't make this again.
Yeah.
And after this, you had 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, which the first half of that is songs, and the second half is we're up our own ass.
Straight masturbation after that.
Straight up. Octavarium, same thing.
At the same time, I can't say that I didn't enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Who doesn't love masturbation?
right? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get too controversial here, but yeah.
Here? Which one are we?
Who doesn't enjoy to masturbate a bit? But yeah, it's one of those things where and I bring this quote up a lot on our show is like Ian Malcolm said in Jurassic Park, you spend so much time focusing on whether or not you could, you never thought about whether or not you should.
Yeah. Whether you should, yeah.
So, and that's how I feel about Dream Theater from this point on in their career.
Oh, I don't know about that, but yeah, this is totally, they could and they should, and they did.
Yeah.
And thank God they did.
Oh, this one needed to happen.
I get that Geoff likes to masturbate. I get that, but
dude, I'm in competition with Jay from Jay and Silent Bob on who masturbates the most.
Oh, it's definitely you, dude. You don't have to. That's not a big reveal. We all knew that.
And apparently, I think about when I do it, and this.
Oh my God! Dude, we can't fucking air this episode now.
Oh my God!
Joe, trust me, I've already timestamped it.
Oh my God! I'm sure he did because I'm such an ass.
That is fucked up, Geoff. You're wrong, and you're going to hell. That's
I know my pastor said. And I'm not that much. I haven't done that much more podcasting than you. I know you're new, but just so you're aware, there are other ways to get on people's podcasts than telling them you masturbate to them.
Oh, you tell that to Geoff,
options.
man.
Well, here. Let me try this then. Hey, John, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. Can I be on your podcast?
Of course you can. I was going to invite you anyway.
Sweet.
Why is it always Geoff? Is it because he's the easiest one out of all of us?
Dude,
because he's not drunk yet.
No, doesn't matter if I'm drunk
I'm
or
not
not.
fucking drunk.
It doesn't matter if I'm drunk or not. I'm always the easiest.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Anybody could be on our show. Just like if you want to crap on the prequels, that's fine, but you're going to be in for a hell of a battle. So.
Oh, you think so, bro? It's a fucking date.
Hey, do you talk about books too? I'm a huge Christy Golden fan, so.
Sure, we can talk about books that Disney has decided is no longer in continuity.
Oh, dude.
If you want to debate the prequels, I'm down.
We can debate them all you want, man. I love the prequels, and I will go to war anytime in their defense. That's my role.
I gotta warn you, I'm a heavy Plinkett fan.
Oh, oh my God. Are you kidding me? That is the worst trash.
Oh, okay. We still have 8 albums to go.
All right. Well, since Dan was being cheesy, how about this? If we didn't have blind faith in Joe, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Oh, snap.
Ouch. I think he's just misunderstood. There's a great debate about that.
I don't know. I think I'm
sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
That takes us into 6 Degrees, doesn't it?
All right, guys. So picking up where the equipment decided to leave off.
6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, 2002's massive double disc release.
Too many
discs. Is that better? Is that like a good intro?
Yeah, no, it was. Too many discs.
Too many fucking discs.
Too many discs. Is it like Amadeus? Too many notes.
Well, so on Metropolis Part 2, I was like, this band's up their own ass.
Oh, definitely.
But I'm kind of okay with it here. And then 6 Degrees. And I'm like, oh, it's 2 discs. That means we decided not to scrap any ideas, guys.
No, that means that we had 6 good songs in one jam session, and then we decided to cut it up into 8 pieces and try to be progressive rock about it. I think we're up our own ass.
Well, you could look at it that way. I this is one of my favorite records personally, because it's ironically, like probably the least popular song on the whole thing is The Great Debate, and I love that song. That's one of my favorite Dream Theater songs. And I mean, the second disc is like another concept record, loosely, but it does have the distinction of being awesome if you're in a douchebag bar and the Touch Tunes actually has live version from Score, because you can put that on repeat like 2 or 3 times and leave the bar and leave all the hipsters listening to 2 hours plus of glorious Dream Theater on repeat. So I'm kind of a fan of that, you know.
This is what I'm into. You hear that, ladies? Yeah.
I don't know, dude. The Glass Prison was the first Dream Theater live I ever got to experience, because I was watching Dream Theater and Megadeth was getting ready to come out, and they started with Glass Prison, and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then I realized it was just, you know, the first great 14-minute epic that I'd ever heard by them, because we're definitely up our own ass with these 14-minute songs. Oh, we're not jamming. Oh, yes, you are.
I'll take it.
Yeah, they certainly started on that path with this record. That's for damn sure. And I mean, it got worse after this. I think we can agree about that. But
there is no great debate about that, John.
I don't know. See, I always
so
liked it. Let's just talk about Dream Theater with using their own song titles. We'll just do it that way for the rest of the episode.
That'll be the entire remainder of this podcast.
Well, we're not hitting on the live albums, so that removes a few. So at least there's that.
Well, that's how I saved 8 hours of my day for the past 6 months, was not listening to Dream Theater's live records.
You got to give them credit for one thing. They're excellent at putting out product and keeping the fans, you know, engaged, because there's definitely never any shortage of material to go out there and get. So at least that's pretty cool.
Between Dream Theater, Fish, and the Grateful Dead, nobody else has made and distributed more of their live content.
No, definitely not.
Which in some cases is really good. In other cases, it's okay, we're going to play Master of Puppets in its entirety because we can. Only Mike Portnoy, you know, he plays it way better than Lars Ulrich ever did.
I think a one-armed chimp plays it better than Lars Ulrich ever did, at least recently.
No, that's a one-legged chimp.
That guy is shit awful.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the
is.
drummer from Def Leppard for a second.
Was anybody else disappointed whenever there was this like fake advertisement for a drum machine, and they used like a really clickbaity article name, which was like, Metallica finally decides to replace Lars Ulrich with their drum machine. And I was like really excited. I was like amped up about it. And then I was like, oh, they're just fucking with me. Oh, I was ready to go.
Right. Well, to get it back to Dream Theater before we get sidetracked like we did about Star Wars before we started. The long songs, I don't think it doesn't bother me, because I think the albums were already like 75 minutes long anyway. So even if it's, you know, if it's 10 songs or it's 6 or it's 8 or something, it's still the same amount of music. So I just always kind of took it as, well, all right, it's just less song titles to worry about memorizing, I guess. So, but I do agree that it's definitely something where they got into this habit of, you know, well, let's just have a couple songs. Like, well, you don't have to go that extreme. You don't have to have like, you know, 5 15-minute songs and call it a record. So I definitely agree with you there. I don't think it bothered me as much as it did some other people.
Well, I'm a fan of the music. Go ahead, Geoff.
It doesn't bother me. I'm a big fan of, you know, just sitting down, listening to entire albums. So I don't really care if a song is 2 minutes long or 20 minutes long, because I'm going to sit down for the whole thing.
Well, my only complaint is, as a whole, within their discography, this is a band that was really good live because they were good musicians. They were better than almost everybody else on the gig. But you go from albums with songs that you can jam over, you can kind of spread them out live, to let's just start recording our fucking jam sessions. And this is not as bad as it got. This is definitely on the good side of their long songs that they started putting out. But this is where Dream Theater basically started treating like everything that they did like solid gold. And even with Liquid Tension Experiment and, you know, this idea that, oh, we're just going to improvise, and okay, we already know you guys are better than everyone else in the room, but can I get, you know, a couple good songs, or do I just have to strap in for an epic every time I put on a Dream Theater album? Because that's where they've put me.
Well, I don't think that's fair, because I think that, yes, this was very up its own ass, as we have said probably 400 times. If you guys are playing a drinking game at home, every time we say up your own ass, up their own ass, take a drink. you'll be shit-faced before you know it. But just because they were like really into themselves on this one, it wasn't unenjoyable. And full confession, I like disc 2 the best.
You son of a bitch.
I can't
Man,
help
I gotta
it.
go with disc 1 just for the great debate in the glass prison.
I love the glass prison, and I like the great debate, but like it's just, for whatever reason, the pretentious asshole in me kind of appreciates what they did on disc 2. in the sense of like just trying to tie it all together, because they're like, we want to do this different thing, this heavier thing that we're doing on disc 1, but we also want to do Metropolis Part 2 again. With this whole idea of like, yeah, guys, it all ties together. See? Don't you see it? Do you see it, Geoff?
Can you hear it?
Can you hear it,
Can you
Geoff?
feel it?
I can feel it. In
I can
my
smell
bones.
your fear in the air.
Okay.
That'd be my ass, actually.
Oh, man.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy to say, well, we just did this concept record, so we're gonna give you kind of another one right off the bat. It's like, wow, that takes some balls.
Well, yeah, but they couldn't dedicate to it completely. They're like, hey, if you didn't like what we did with this concept album, here's this other album that's that is disc 1. And I thought that was interesting. They kind of like had their cake and ate it too, right?
Yeah, I think definitely it was, like you say, it's almost like two different albums. And, like Jordan mentions in the documentary for Score that it basically really was kind of like two separate albums for them. And, you got the really heavy first disc and then, the more metal one. And then you've got, you've got the more progressive, like straight up melodic second album, really, which, the whole second disc. And the only thing that really struck me was as I got into the second disc, I'm like, why is there like 8 minutes of classical music at the beginning of this? Where's Dream Theater? What happened? Did I buy like a Tchaikovsky record or some shit? Like, what happened?
Vivaldi.
So that was kind of odd. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the first time I heard
Chopin.
it, I actually fell asleep. Like, I didn't actually make it to the second half of the album because, like, and it took me probably a couple weeks because disc 1 is like so fucking good, right? So like,
Yeah.
I listened to that and I'm like, oh, this is great. So I pop in disc 2 and I'm like, okay, so it's classical music. I'm not surprised. But I was like, I guess this is all it is, because I fell asleep within the first like 5-6 minutes of it, and then it was only a few weeks later that I was like, okay, there's actually a Dream Theater album hiding behind all that classical music.
Behind it.
More like an EP though.
Yeah, an EP, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to admit I skipped it when I realized how long it was and it was just going to keep going. I was like, I can listen to this any other time. Get to the goddamn songs.
Right.
So that was my, I don't know. The other thing about this record, they started down this path. The first one was really with the album before it, Metropolis, where they stopped, kind of writing in the typical fashion that a band would write, where they get a rehearsal studio and they put it together and they jam with each other and everything. It's this was their second attempt to just write in the studio, which is how they have done it ever since Metropolis. And I think, and I love all the records pretty much, but I think you can tell that spontaneity just isn't quite there like it was with the previous albums. And I think the only album that really worked perfectly on was Metropolis.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as genuine here. It seems like, okay, so if people aren't on board with the like heavier direction, they might still be on board with what we have, on the second disc. And I think it's like one of those frustrating situations where they're trying to appeal to two audiences, which I think is kind of out of the spirit of Dream Theater. Because before this, I kind of got this impression of like, fuck you, we're going to do what we want to do. And if you're on board, you're on board. That's great. But if you're not, well, sorry.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. The other thing that it did was, by writing The Great Debate and especially the Glass Prison, they were playing that stuff live and we're getting this incredible vibe off the audience for it. So it's what led them to the creation of the next record, that being Train of Thought.
Oh, do tell me about the concept of Train of Thought.
See, that's a segue, man. Yeah.
Gotta love that professionalism.
They basically, that's what happens when you get multiple podcasters on. We all know what we're doing.
Some of us do. Yeah. I don't.
Dan's like, I know how to drink beer really well.
I drink and I drink and I talk, and people like that for some reason.
Nice. But yeah, they they were really kind of getting a vibe off of the audience for the tour during the touring cycle of 6 Degrees, that the heavy stuff was working, and they decided that they kind of wanted to make a straight metal album. And they were quoted as saying, well, it's kind of like, Metallica has their Master Puppets and Slayer has Rain and Blood, and we want to have our seminal metal record. And that was the goal, was to make it just this brutally heavy album. And they definitely succeeded at that, but it was certainly the most bleak release that to this date that they've ever done. Which is kind of interesting. It's weird. I really like that record, and there's albums I like less than that, but it's the one I listen to the least.
Really? Yeah, actually my favorite song is on this, and that's As I Am. I love that song.
Oh, you would have loved the most recent tour. They played that.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, it was actually, it's funny because since we recorded last, I saw that tour twice.
We were going to bring that up.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a kind of a screw up on my part to go again, but I managed to go to the Chicago show on November 3rd, and then November 8th I was in Greenville, PA. And yeah, they actually threw in As I Am, which was pretty cool, because I hadn't heard that one in a bit. But yeah, Train of Thought's awesome. It's really heavy and everything. It's just there's just something about it that lacks a little bit of that melodic quality that Dream Theater's always had. It's just they really just went, well, we're just going to be heavy and fuck everything else. So,
well, I remember when they were talking about creating the seminal metal record that was Dream Theater, and I thought, guys, you already did that. That was Awake.
Yeah.
That was Images and Words. That was even, Metropolis. You guys already have done that. So why are you attempting to retread ground? Because when you make that intentional observation, that intentional, we are going to make the greatest thing that we've ever made, that's the red flag to the consumer of this is complete shit. Be aware, be aware, be aware.
And I guess that's why this is Dan's favorite album.
So, Train of Thought, my favorite Dream Theater album. Because I'm a meathead, guys. I like heavy music.
And like that balls.
This record delivers. And I didn't expect it to. See, when I normally listen to Dream Theater, I kind of have to put the meathead side of me kind of away, put it somewhere else, so that the hipster side of me can flourish and feel superior to other people who like this kind of music. And I can be like, yeah, wow, dude, you like that Megadeth album? You should check this shit out. This is Dream Theater. Yeah, I was totally into it. I was totally into it before you were. But Train of Thought really, it's a heavy album. It's not the most progressive Dream Theater album out there, but I really do love it because it's extremely heavy for Dream Theater. And I just like the way that it flows. I think after we had, Metropolis Part 2 and we had 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, I think Train of Thought was a really refreshing, and that it was a more straight ahead album. Am I wrong in that?
No, I definitely think you're right. And, I was saying while you were chucking a clinker that it's, it definitely, it's their most bleak and probably least melodic album. I always thought that little violin cello track, Vacant, was always kind of funny to me, because it always seemed like an apology to me. Like, to the fans that didn't want a record that was nothing but brutality. It was kind of like, oh, sorry about that. Well, here's 3 minutes of breathy James Hetfield with a little string section to tide you over.
Well, it's interesting too that you had mentioned my taking a shit, because that's my taking a shit part of the album. Because I just I love the I love the brutality of it, man. And this is when people make fun of me for listening to Dream Theater, because I have terrible friends, and people make fun of me about that, because I'm always like, dude, you guys like Opeth, and they're like, yeah, we do, and I'm like, yeah, but I like heavy stuff just like anybody else does, But dude, Dream Theater is capable of doing that. You know? So it was kind of like, my guys, look, check it out. See, Dream Theater, they're kicking ass over here. It's fine. You know? I shouldn't have to prove myself as a listener. And it's so funny too, like with me taking the meathead part of this
that's
discussion.
really curious.
Because
You're so anti-meathead.
because that's why I was
Pantera
like
and shit.
I was so anti-Pantera because of how meatheady they were. But like, you know, but the hipster in me definitely comes out a lot in listening to Dream Theater, because I love this album and it's really straightforward. But like, if I'm feeling like super hipster and I want to show somebody what's up, dude, I never show them this album, because I want them to hear like just the really weird, crazy shit that Dream Theater does. And this is more like a regular album, so this is the one that I listen to when I'm by myself.
Right. I was always kind of surprised that this one wasn't better received among non-fans, like maybe people that were just like that casually knew about Dream Theater, because the fact it is a little more direct. There's, you know, the keyboards aren't prominent at all, and it just seems like if there's somebody that's like kind of on the fence but they're into metal, this would be the Dream Theater album where they're like, oh, this is pretty cool, but it never really happened. So I think they were just so entrenched in what they were that no one really, you know.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They had already developed, a persona. So even if they did bring it out, you know, people would probably be more in line to accuse them of being posers or something than actually saying, hey, you know, they have the ability to, you know, to do just a straight ahead, you know, rock/metal album, because everybody is already expecting something else, so they just feel like people are probably just, you know, pumping their tires when they say, you know, no, dude, actually they do have a straight ahead album. Because they're like, no, that's not what Dream Theater is. Dream Theater is all over the fucking place.
Yeah, but fuck those people, because like, you know, we're all the people that love Metallica and love like metal, like heavy stuff, but that has a little bit more mainstream of a identity. I think this is totally this album. You know, and I don't understand where all those people are. I mean, maybe with it being like 2003, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was, 11 years after Images and Words and Pull Me Under, so people probably that were fringe fans because they really liked Pull Me Under, after 11 years, they're just like, well, I gave them a chance with Awake and these other records, so why am I going to listen to this?
I feel like they pulled back a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, coming from, like, okay, I've seen, the first time I saw them was on the Metropolis tour, and I've seen every single tour since. Even one where they didn't really headline on Black Clouds that much. And I mean, their crowds really kept going up and up. And so, I mean, this definitely didn't hurt them. And it continued a period of upward trajectory for them. But I just really thought it would be more widely, more widely received with an audience outside of just their hardcore fans.
See, I remember the next record, Octavarium, being like this huge fucking deal. And I don't remember why. I've listened to it as many times as I've listened to any of their other records. And my observation now is this was a backpedal. This was, let's go back to 6 Degrees. That was a good idea. Let's come up with a bunch of songs and then do a gigantic jam amazingness. And I don't remember why Octavarium was supposed to be such a huge deal. And that might just have been another, well, it's Mike Portnoy, and he's amazing. And yeah, the Mike Portnoy click drum is in full effect. I don't really remember any specific reason to praise the next record, but 2005, Octavarium.
Yes.
It's another Dream Theater record.
And it is the next in line of albums they wrote, as I stutter over my own speech here, the next in a long line of records they put out to justify going against what they did on previous albums, which was an interesting pattern they got into. Because they, you know, the train of thought was a reaction to, oh, the fans really dig the heavy stuff, so we're just going to do a heavy record. And then Octavarium was, well, some of the hardcore fans really crapped on the fact that we just did like a straight ahead brutal album. So we're going to try and go back to our prog roots and write more of a widely varied Yes type album.
Oh, we are definitely up our own ass on this one.
Take a drink.
Yeah. Yes.
That means I need to go get another beer.
So what do you guys think of the song Octavarium and their 20-minute plus long songs in general, of which there's now, 4 of them?
I remember very little, and that is my problem with the long, drawn-out jam sessions, and they're not the only band to do it. One band that comes to mind that was the first band Dan saw with Dream Theater, or he saw for the first time he saw Dream Theater, was Between the Buried and Me. And I'm going to get the number wrong, their album, The Great Misdirect, ends with is it a 17-minute or a 27-minute?
17.
17-minute epic called Swim to the Moon. That while you're listening to, it sounds really cool. There's some cool ideas. You remember none of it. None of it is meaningful. And you get the impression that it was just, let's just throw down all these fucking things that we can just spit out all at once and call it a song. And it's not a song, it's just a jam session. It is what it is. You guys had this one good idea, and then you jammed over it for the next 30 minutes. You did that for 6 hours, and then you picked the best one. Oh no, that was Liquid Attention Experiment. No, that was Octavarium. I remember none of Octavarium. I listened to it again, and I'm thinking, okay, it's Octavarium again. I don't remember any of it. We are up our own ass.
Take a drink.
Yeah, I like that song. I think it's one of those rare things where they have 4 long songs and 3 of them I enjoy. And this is one of them, and I think it's because I really liked the live presentation of it, so that kind of plays into it a little bit.
Were they trying to be Pink Floyd with their presentation?
A little bit.
A little bit? Okay, it's not just me then.
Yeah, a little bit. But I don't know. It just doesn't bother me. And that record has some really interesting stuff on it, and I think it was a little refreshing after Train of Thought. So the song itself is, I think, a whole nother discussion. But they had like really poppy stuff, the 2 ballads. They had, I Walk Beside You, but then they had really cool stuff like, These Walls, The Root of All Evil is a great tune. Sacrifice Sons is an interesting song. Never Again is just Portnoy bitching at the fans like crazy, which I always thought was pretty funny. So, I liked it. But again, it's always interesting to me how they had this string of records. It was they just, instead of just writing whatever the hell they wanted, they were basically trying to go against what the fan backlash was on the previous record.
All right, I got to ask you a question. You mentioned something that actually kind of is probably my biggest gripe with Dream Theater, and that is the poppy ballads. What's your take on that side of it? Because that's generally, if I'm going to skip a song, whenever I'm listening to one of their albums, that's generally what I end up skipping. And it's not that I'm like anti-pop. Well, okay, yeah, I'm anti-pop. So maybe that's my problem, but what's your take on that?
It doesn't really bother me. It's kind of like, I guess it's kind of like the salad with the entree kind of cleanses the palate a little bit. So when you have like a 10 and 12 minute just musician fest, you get a couple of those in a row. It's nice to just lay back for 4 minutes and hear something pretty straightforward. So, and to me, it adds to the diversity of it, because for as much as the big critique about them among non-fans or casual music listeners is, all they do is wank. It's just a wanker band. They just solo and show off and shit. It's like, that's really not what they're about. And if they didn't have those ballads, like the simplistic ones, that's what they would be. So I almost think it's a necessary part of their catalog.
As big of a fan of them as I am, I've always said they want to be a band that you listen to the whole record. And a lot of people forget that when they listen to Dream Theater, because we have memories of Images and Words and Awake and Where Dreams and Day Unite, if you can find it, and Falling into Infinity. We have memories of those songs that were just songs, but they matured as musicians, and they want you to sit down and listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, they do. They come from that old school, man, of when that was the thing. you're growing up with records and everything and stuff on vinyl, or just say prog rock in general. That was, that stuff is written in a more album format and not just, well, here's, a couple good singles and then all of a sudden, here's some filler songs. Like, no, the whole thing is supposed to be, a collective piece in a way. So, like I said, I just think those are kind of necessary, and some of them are really cool. There's some of them I really, really enjoy. So, and they did have that with, Another Day, and then, Silent Man and stuff. So it wasn't something they all of a sudden just decided to do. It's just, I think they were a little more straightforward than they had been when you start getting Octavarium.
Well, speaking of filler songs, who wants to talk about Systematic Chaos?
I didn't say anything about Octavarium.
What do you think about Octavarium, Dan?
All I was going to say was, it's one of those records that it's obviously I can trash it for being up its own ass. Take a drink. But it's just one of those records that I think that, like John said, I don't think that there's a lot of filler here. Like as much as you want to call it a wank fest or whatever you want to call it, I will admit that it's not super memorable, at least not to me, but it can't be denied that when I'm listening to it, I have a smile on my face the whole time. I'm completely into what I'm hearing, but it definitely took 15 to 20 listens for it to really grab me and stick with me. But I think, again, like John was saying, it's kind of that old school mindset where, it's old school in the sense that, yeah, you have to sit down and listen to it completely. And that's the way it was back then. You bought a record. It cost like $20 or $30 or whatever. You sit down and you listen only to that for weeks. And that's where I'm at with Octavarium, that I can't enjoy pieces of it very well. I have to have the entire product, but when I do have the whole product, I love it.
And I think it's kind of interesting because if you were to, let's say you were to take not Systematic Chaos, excuse me, we're not quite there yet. If you were to take Train of Thought and Octavarium and, let's say if you were to play, As I Am, and then play the first two songs off of Octavarium and then play, This Dying Soul, and just kind of go one from this album, two from the next album, one from this album, two from the next. It actually makes pretty quintessential Dream Theater listening. So it's almost like it was two albums that were split into two different experiences.
That's a good idea. I'm going to make a playlist of that, actually, and I'll let you know what the results are.
That's going to be the Dream Theater playlist right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I did it. It was really weird because it's basically what everything that Dream Theater fans like about the band is represented in a listen like that. And it just so happens that they just did one half of their experience on one record and the other half on the other. So
no, that's interesting. It's kind of like when Opeth did Deliverance and Damnation. You had the album Deliverance was extremely heavy and brutal and in your face, and then the album Damnation was all clean singing and it was more folksy kind of thing, and it represented both sides of the band, but split apart. Whereas normally on an Opeth record you would have both in one. In that case, they did it both. And yes, that's really interesting to split those two albums apart and combine them together, and you might actually get the ultimate Dream Theater experience. No, that's cool.
All right, you fucking got me. Octavarium is top 3 Dream Theater records for me. There, I said it.
No kidding.
Okay, then.
Yeah, number 3.
So you don't remember a lot of it, but it's your top 3. There you go.
It is the record that I will reach for and put in the most when I'm going to sit down and listen to a Dream Theater record. It's not my favorite Dream Theater record, but when I look at my Dream Theater collection and I say I want to listen to Dream Theater, my eye ends on Octavarium more often than not. And then for an hour, I'm good.
And yet the title track you're not a fan of. Do you just skip the title track?
No, I said I like it. I just don't remember it when I'm done.
Ah, okay.
It's amazing while I'm listening to it. I just don't remember it.
It's a lot to process.
I always get nervous when they do stuff like that because a change of seasons is musical perfection. And, that kind of sets the bar, obviously. And then, the second one, when they put out Octavarium, I was like, oh boy. I shouldn't compare it to A Change of Seasons, but if it's going to be this long, okay.
You almost have
But
to, out of principle.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was so much different than A Change of Seasons, I thought, which was pretty cool. And there was some melodic stuff in the title track on Octavarium that they had never done before, and it's just really, really interesting piece of music, I thought. So that it was such a cool way to close an album. I thought it was very interesting.
I think it's time to move on to Portnoy is up his own butt, aka Systematic Chaos.
Take a drink. It still counts.
the record where he decided, check me out, I can sing.
Yeah, he'd been doing that for a few years live.
Sing quotations and quotations.
Yes.
I try not to learn too much about band politics because I feel like Metallica has overwhelmed me. But I get this impression that Portnoy was the guy that he always wanted to do something more than he could, when what he needs to do is just sit there and be one of the best drummers that exist. No, guys, I want to sing on this one because I don't remember what live release or DVD compilation of videos it was, but I distinctly recall seeing him with a goosenecked microphone stand over the top while he's drumming, singing in a very low register that was extremely out of place, The Man in My Soul. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're Mike Portnoy. You're one of the best drummers that exists. At least you think so. And I think so. But why are you singing? Stop that. And then I got Systematic Chaos the next year and said, oh, that's not James LaBrie.
Yeah, the whole Dark Eternal Night thing. That was, it was interesting.
It was an experience.
That's where a lot of people started bitching about it too. It was just so obvious that he was trying to shoehorn his way in, like, hey, I'm gonna do more, because and really it was because he felt that the heavier material, that James didn't have enough balls in his voice. That sounded really gay, but you know what I mean.
Balls in his throat.
Yeah, he didn't have enough balls in his throat. But, he just didn't think that James sounded heavy enough, like the tone of his voice to carry out stuff like Dark Eternal Night and whatnot. So, and unfortunately, once he did it once, he decided, well, anytime there's something heavy, I have to sing on it because that's how it has to go now. So
I mean, if I had to rank vocalists in metal as far as how heavy they are, I would definitely put James LaBrie somewhere between, I don't know, Michael Bolton and
You know what though?
wow.
Poor James.
Geoff got me on that one.
Michael Bolton would have been an amazing metal vocalist. I don't know what you're talking about.
He started as a metal vocalist, didn't he? I thought I read that.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, he was in hair metal bands. That's where he got his start. Don't ask me why I know.
I have no problem with his voice, but
Oh no, he's an amazing vocalist. I'm just saying James LaBrie.
But I
would be
can tell
between
you-
him and Halford.
okay, can I be that guy? As far as like ballsy metal vocalists go, I don't even like Mike fucking Portnoy doesn't even register on my list of ballsy metal vocalists. And that was the biggest problem I had with this, is I was just like, dude, I know you think it sounds brutal, but holy shit, does it not? Like, I mean,
Back to the drawing board, buddy.
yeah, like, honestly, I'm the kind of guy that can listen to, I can listen to a super brutal band with a vocalist that's singing super high pitched and sounds like angel jizz over it, and that still comes across to me as more heavy than whatever the fuck he was trying to do on this. And like it bothers me much. Like, okay, discography discussion landmark moment here. He's not even like, in my mind, a Phil Anselmo. Like, he doesn't have the balls for it. And I hear that. I hear distortion on his voice. Like artificial distortion, and it bugs the fuck out of me. And it actually took away from my enjoyment of this record.
You have never been a fan of the artificial distortion on vocals.
It's bullshit. You can either do it or you can't do it. And there's no point. There's nothing wrong with sticking with your band's like normal vocals in this case. If your music's heavy, then who gives a shit? Train of Thought was great. And it had, you know, your standard, you know, it had your standard Dream Theater style vocals, and it was still heavy, and I didn't have a problem with it. But like when you're gonna like try to go into my territory and be like brutal, fuck no. He had nothing going for him there.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was not really needed as well for that exact reason. Like you said, there's Train of Thought, there was Awake. You know, they'd done heavy songs before that didn't require him doing, you know, his Cookie Monster impression,
grunting like an asshole, and then having to throw tons of distortion on top of it. Like that's fucking weak in the Cookie Monster world. You know, like who needs that? And like, why is it on a Dream Theater record? Like, I listen to Dream Theater as an escape from music like that.
Yeah, I definitely think it wasn't necessary. You know, you'd love what they're doing with it currently though, because when they do Dark Eternal Night now, they have a vocal track that kind of sounds like Portnoy's track that Labrie is singing along with.
Okay, that might be all right.
So, yeah, I mean, basically they're like, well, this is how it goes on the record, and James just doesn't do it, so you know, we'll just track a somewhat heavy vocal, and then it'll sound pretty close to what you're used to hearing.
Somewhat heavy. That is literally the greatest way you could describe it.
Yeah, seriously. So I always thought it was funny, but about this record too, was the first thing they wrote was In the Presence of Enemies, and it was like this 20-minute piece again, and they said, they went, well, shit, we can't do that again. We can't open the record with a 20-minute song, and we just ended the last one with a 20-minute song, so what are we going to do? And they went, oh, I know what we'll do. We'll just split it in half.
Right down the middle.
Nobody will notice.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this is this record for me, it's not my least favorite album because the songs that I like, I love, but it does have the only Dream Theater song that I can't stand and will always skip, and one that is close to that territory.
Let me
and
take
the one
a guess.
Ooh.
Let me take a guess.
All right.
It would be too easy to say it's Forsaken.
It is not Forsaken.
Oh, man. I got two choices here. Ministry of Lost Souls.
That's the one I can mostly do without. The one that I cannot stand is Repentance.
Oh, I should have gone with the obvious.
Good choice.
Yep. Dude, the song...
I had a 50-50 shot.
Right? Yeah, it's the one song of theirs that goes absolutely nowhere. And I started getting tired of the whole 12-step program thing. I'm like, okay, I get it. You're not an alcoholic. Like, at least the other songs in the 12-step suite that he did, like, at least the lyrics were okay. They weren't quite so blatant. But this one and the final song, Shattered Fortress on the following record, the lyrics just got stupid, and it was just shoehorning crap in there. I'm like, all right, stop it. You're sober. Good for you. Enough. And I mean, Repentance, it just drones on with the same melody and all this. I'm like, oh my God, I've heard this already. Like, I get it. Like, I don't need 8 minutes of this. So first time I heard it, I hated it. I tried listening to it many other times. Thought maybe I was just in an asshole mood when I first heard the album, and no, can't stand that song. Cannot stand it.
No, I feel you. It's not great, and I think the message of the song really kind of reiterates a point that has been reiterated multiple times. Because, like, I listen to Christian metal a lot because that's where I got my start. You know, I was raised very, religious, and, nothing bothers me more than, like, a certain concept or idea being, like, shoved down my throat so much. And that song, it, like, not only is the music really, really forgettable, but it's just like, God damn, we're still doing this?
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude. I was good on step 9, step 10. Like, I'm done, man. I can't keep on with this. Like, let it go. I get where you're coming from. I'm super happy that you're clean now. I'm super happy about it. But, like, just let the fuck go, man.
Yeah.
Just be happy in your new life and move on.
Yeah, this is definitely this is the bottom of the barrel for me.
I don't know, dude. The bottom of the barrel is coming up shortly. I think it's time to go to 2009 with Black Clouds and Silver Linings.
Love it.
Mr. Portnoy, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
Love you, bro.
So, explain this to me, John, because I know you know the answer. Did Mike Portnoy leave Dream Theater because he wanted to be on Avenged Sevenfold's record, or did he leave Dream Theater because he was 9 records in and wanted to try new stuff?
I wanted to try new stuff.
Trick question, sir. It was the same question put 2 different ways.
No,
He was asked to be on Avenged Sevenfold after the Reverend passed away because it
was after he had left Dream Theater.
That is correct.
That's what everybody always says. Oh, he quit to go. He quit Dream Theater because of Avenged Sevenfold. No, he was already out of Dream Theater, and then he got the invite from Avenged Sevenfold, one of the dumbest bands on planet Earth.
It's kind of like you just left a full-time job at like some really prestigious restaurant that's only local to your area, and it's like $45 entrees.
It does like Creole, like amazing, like the place down the street.
and then you get a job at fucking Taco Bell.
And what place is that?
Yep.
Don't tell me
because
that's
you're like,
Tetris.
oh shit, I quit this really good job I had because the grass looked greener on the other side, but like now I have to work at Taco Bell in order to pay my electric bill.
Right. Yeah, it was just very presumptuous of him, and I will never understand all these fans that are turning away from the band, going, oh well, if it's not Portnoy, I'm not watching it. First of all, of any fan base of bands that I can think of, I would think that Dream Theater fans would be the ones to go, okay, well, the music is the same. The musicianship is actually better without Portnoy, if that's possible. And yet, we got to have this guy in there or else it's not the same. Like, what? And, Portnoy was, let's face it, like, I'm a huge fan of the guy. It was a complete and total dick move because he basically said, well, I want like a 5-year hiatus. So why don't you guys just sit on your ass and not pull in any income? And I'm going to go out there and fart around for 5 years. And then when I feel like coming back, I'm going to do that. So and they're like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah. How about fuck you? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like he's trying to, they got to make money too. And he just basically expected them to sit on their ass while he went and scratched the itch, which was, I don't know. I like this album. I like this album a lot. The song about his dad, Best of Times, I think that it's okay. I mean, it's pretty cool. Again, kind of one of those things that it seems it's got that vibe of trying a little too hard. But I think Nightmare to Remember has one of my all-time favorite melodies of theirs in that middle part where it gets mellow for a bit, which is cool. And that song also was really heavy. I mean, it's the first song they used a blast beat. And Count of Tuscany, again, back to the super long songs. I love that tune.
Yeah, that's my favorite track on this one.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I mean, for something to be 19 minutes and change,
it goes by fast.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I love that. And I got to see that song performed live, so again, maybe I'm a little biased, but that was also that was God, where was that? Oh, that's right. I saw them in a club on that tour because they were, for most of that album cycle, they were opening for Iron Maiden. But they only did 3 headliners, and one of them happened to be in Columbus, Ohio. And I drove to Columbus to see it, and it was at the Newport, which holds like not even 2,000 people. And it was this tiny venue. I think it holds like 1,200 or 1,300 or something. And so to see them in a venue like that was just so goddamn cool. And one of the things they played was Count of Tuscany, which was awesome. So I don't know. I like this record. But again, it's that weird combination of, okay, well, there's like 6 songs on the record, but it's 79 minutes type of a thing. So I don't know.
The interesting thing is I think this is their highest charting album in the U.S.
Really?
Yep.
No kidding.
Number 6. On the U.S. charts.
Wow.
What the fuck were we
smoking? Who are these people coming out of the woodwork?
Yeah. The next closest was...
You're going to say Systematic Chaos, aren't you?
Nope. 2013. Yeah, it's Dream Theater, the 2013 release.
Oh, we're going to get to that.
Yeah, but Yeah, this is
That is
yes,
some
we are.
tasty fucking sauce, is what that is.
Yeah, it is. That's I really like that one. But no, yeah, I was going through doing some brushing up, and I was like, holy shit! I was like, this is like top 10 across the board in all these countries. They sold, and see this should give you the trick, even though it's it rated number 6. They only sold 40,000 of it, so that should let you know, like, that's whenever the digital revolution really started hitting. So like CDs were, going, the way of the dodo, so to speak. Because I know that they've had other albums that have sold more than that.
Images and Words had to have sold more than that.
Well, the Images and Words is gold in America.
I was
It's the
going to
only one
say
that
it had
is.
Pull Me Under, man. It's
Yep.
solid fucking gold. I mean that literally.
Yeah, so that's the fucked up thing. So yeah, in 92, that Images and Words actually charted at 61, but it sold 604,000 plus copies.
I'll take that.
So
Yeah.
that should just let you know on how record sales have changed over the years. From 92 to, 2000?
2000 something.
2009.
Yeah,
2009 with that one.
Yeah, I almost said 7. But yeah, that's just interesting. So it's something that hasn't even sold a tenth of what their largest selling album is, but it's still their highest rated, highest charting album.
I actually really like this album because it came out in 2009, but I had actually lost a job in 2010 and had to go through like a major life change, and this album, as cheesy as this sounds, like really helped me through that.
I get a Rush vibe off this one.
A little bit. I could see that.
And I know you're a big Rush fan. That's why I bring that up.
I am.
So it's actually a good thing that I left my job.
Same year.
Because I think Dan might have actually taken my old job.
I did. Me and Geoff used to work at a local video game store, and Geoff worked there first. So when I first met Geoff, I was just a customer, and then he comes in 2 years later, and I'm standing behind the counter, and he's like, "What? What the hell is this?" Actually, he really freaked me out one time. And Joe, you don't have to include this in the podcast if you don't want, but so he calls me out of the blue one day. This is before me and Geoff were like close friends, and he calls me and he's like, "Hey, I need a PlayStation 2, but I need to make sure that it can read PS1 games." And I was like, "Well, they all can, bro. It's not a big deal." And then he's like, "Okay, thanks, Dan," and then hangs up the phone. And I'm like, I never gave him my name.
I wish Dave was here so that we could tell the story about everybody pretending to be the manager.
Yeah, the guy that owns the game store that we worked at was supposed to be here tonight, but he unfortunately couldn't make it. But yeah, we were kind of like, yeah, it's really weird that him and I occupied the same job. But yeah, as I was talking about the record that I used to actually be a bank manager, and I was fired from that job because, dude, I'm just out of control, I guess. But I got fired, and it was really hard. It was a huge hit to the self-confidence, obviously. And this record just, I don't know, like it smelled like change, like a change in life. And even though we didn't really know that was what was going to happen with the band, that there was going to be a major change, for whatever reason, this record really helped me get through that experience. And then not shortly after, I ended up just going in. I did the unemployment thing for a while, and then I ended up going to this game store. And I was like, dude, I don't have any time. I don't really have anything to do. I look for jobs every day, but can you just give me a job? And the dude at the game store was like, yeah, dude, I'll do it. And then it ended up being the same game store that Geoff worked at. So
That's a nice, easy way to get a job.
small world. Yeah.
Hey, can you employ me? Uh-huh. All right, sweet. I'll start tomorrow. All right, see you then.
I have to tell you, and this is going to sound cheesy, but Dave is one of our only Patreon supporters, and he is just absolutely a completely beautiful human being, and really has helped all of us out in a lot of ways.
This counts as his November shout out. You know that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And But no, he killed it, man. You know, he actually, side note, the first thing he listened to that we recorded as a podcast was my appearance on the Nerf Herder console. And,
No kidding.
And it was that, for whatever reason, compelled him. I guess he was sold enough on Dan Terry to be like, I'm going to support your guys' podcast on Patreon. So I was like, oh, that's awesome, dude. You know.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Your Star Wars nerddom gets you money in other avenues.
I had no idea. You should write a book, John.
You're living Jon Drake's dream.
Right, yeah. He went on to become a millionaire after that. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I toiled on the Nerf Herder Council.
John, if I become a millionaire and it's because of something you said, you're getting at least 15%.
I'm down. We'll get on it.
We'll make it
Let's
happen.
go ask somebody for $1 million. It worked for a job.
Perfect.
Hey man, can I have a job? Sure.
Yeah,
hey
I'm
man,
just
can I have
asking.
$1 million? Yeah, what the hell? I got enough.
No. Kickstarter. We'll tell everybody we're making the greatest music podcast ever.
Yeah.
And raise $1 million.
I love it. Hey, Kickstarter works for a bunch of people, man.
Absolutely.
If that lady that flipped off Trump can get $250,000, anybody can get anything.
Yeah, the American dream is more alive than it has ever been.
Right.
Wait, I think that was through I think that was through hard work and dedication, right? The American dream.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I just saw that news article. I'm like, I'm doing things all wrong. All I have to do is just make an obscene gesture at a person of extreme political power, and I won't have to work for a couple of years. This is beautiful.
Perfect.
Yeah,
All right,
that would definitely be a dramatic turn of events.
Oh, I like what you did there. High five.
So,
Look at that.
Jon Drake, just to catch everybody up, tell me the story about Dream Theater looking for a drummer.
Well, they found a whole bunch of guys and picked the first one. So
Really, the first one?
If you believe the order in which they tried them out in the documentary that came on the bonus DVD with the extended version of the album, and also what they say in the documentary, which is they said that Mike Mangini was the first person that they auditioned. So they had a list of guys, and they said he was the first one that they auditioned, and his audition was pretty badass from what they showed in the videos and stuff like that. So, and he actually seemed to give a crap, which was interesting. You know, the other guys were into it, but he definitely seemed like it just wasn't a job, and he even said so. You know, he said this isn't just a gig to me. You know, he was very appreciative and humble and respectful of their history, but yeah, it was just pretty crazy because I remember when Portnoy said he quit. I'm going, well, who in the hell are they going to be able to get? And when I read some of the names and I looked them up, the ones I was not familiar with, I went, Jesus Christ! Like, you'd never think a band like Dream Theater. It's like, yeah, we're actually going to get better, but that's exactly what happened. You know, in terms of drumming skill.
Of the drummers that I'm aware of, my answer was, well, Marco Miniman is too damn good for anybody. Thomas Lang is a bit of a douchebag. He's great,
Yeah,
but he's a bit of a douchebag. I don't think he's going to fit in very well. Then I heard
Portnoy
Mike
fit in
Mangini.
just fine.
Right. But then I heard Mike Mangini was going to be trying out, and I said, well, obviously he's got the gig. Because he's Mike Mangini. He had the fastest hands in the world. He had the fastest feet at one point. He's one of the most technically sound drummers. He's up there with Terry Bozzio in his ambidextrousness. I think that's a word, but he plays, if you've ever seen his kit, everything is the same on both sides because he plays anything with either hand or either foot. So
don't know how he does
obviously
it.
he's got the fucking gig.
right.
Obviously he's going to stand up Mike Portnoy. And on this record, A Dramatic Turn of Events from 2011, he just kind of sits back in the pocket and, yeah, I'm in Dream Theater now and I'm still holding down the fort. He hasn't fully stepped out yet into his Mangini-ness.
Well, there's a reason for that. That being, he didn't write a single note of what he played.
Really?
It was completely written and arranged by John Petrucci. And basically, the crux of this record, if you believe interviews at the time and whatnot, was the music was completely composed by John Petrucci, and he composed drum parts for it on a drum machine and basically said to Mangini, well, we'd already been working on this record when we had to do the drummer thing. When Mike left, we just kept writing music, and so here's the drum parts. Like, you can write your own drum parts on the next one. So this is basically the John Petrucci almost solo record
of Dream Theater.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Because I've heard John Petrucci's solo records, and they're pretty fucking badass.
Yeah,
even the ones that
awesome.
feature Mike Portnoy. fucking Glasgow Kiss, hell yes.
Yes, but so I mean, this is really Mike Mangini had no other responsibilities on this album except to just sit down and play what Petrucci gave him. So this, he was just one step above a drum machine basically for this album. So that was...
Well, that's Mangini. He can be a drum machine if you pay him.
Yes.
Because he's Mike Mangini. He's better than almost everybody.
Yep. I mean, it's crazy, dude. Like you're saying, the drummers that they brought in, the guys are fantastic, but it's so, if you watch the auditions, it's amazing to see these world-class drummers and how even they look like chumps at times compared to some other dudes. Like, it was down to Marco Miniman and Peter Wildoer and Mike Mangini were the three finalists. And, it's like you watch these guys playing and up against guys like Achilles Priester and Virgil Donati and Thomas Lang and those guys are all fantastic, but then you watch them up against these other three dudes, you're like, God damn, it's like, even with world-class musicians, there's such a difference.
Well, out of the drummers that I know, if Dream Theater had to replace Mike Portnoy, the answer was always going to be Mike Mangini.
They already had a working relationship with him somewhat as well. So they were basically familiar with him, and I want to say Mangini played on one of James's solo records. It might have been one of the Mo Musler ones or the first actual one. It was just titled under James LeBrie and not Mo Musler, but he had worked with them a little bit, and he was kind of friends with them outside of the band. Obviously, like they were aware of him and they were friendly, so they already knew that they connected kind of on a personality level. It was kind of like how they got Jordan Rudess back in 1998. So I don't know. I mean, speaking to the music itself, I mean, like I say, for just being a John Petrucci vehicle, really, I think it holds up well with the rest of the catalog. And one of the more interesting things was a super fan group got really pissed off that Mangini left. Apparently, they have an inability to read words to know that, it's just one of those asshole things like Dream Theater's a bunch of dicks for firing Mike Portnoy. It's like, dude, they didn't fire him, you asshat. So get your facts straight. But anyway, they went through and charted the whole album and came out with an accusation that Mike Portnoy actually responded to, as if there was truth to it, that John Petrucci and Jordan Rudess had taken the charts from Images and Words and just redone those songs with a little bit different notation.
False.
But yeah. But that's what they were trying to,
anybody that has ears could tell you that's bullshit.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, you can listen to it and okay, they'll say, well, this has, the verse hits here, the chorus hits here, then you got the instrumental part, and then you got this. It's like, okay, but tons of Dream Theater songs have that. But these guys were so pissed off because they thought Portnoy got fired that they come out with this accusation. And of course, Portnoy being Portnoy had to respond to it like, that's interesting, smiley face.
That's interesting. Dan, did you know that Metallica, King Nothing, they ripped off their own song, Enter Sandman?
Holy
Did you know
shit.
that the guys that wrote Enter Sandman wrote King Nothing, and it was basically the same?
My God.
I mean, what are we going to do as fans?
Scandal.
Totally blaspheming.
That's
I better post it on
bullshit is
my
what it is.
Facebook wall like it's true.
Oh, God, he's talking about Facebook. He's going to be here a while.
I'll get so many followers.
Yeah, well,
because I said something controversial. And oh my God, I'm going to get likes. I'm going to be drowning. I'm going to be up to my dicks and up. Yeah, that's right. Dicks. I'm going to be up to my dicks and likes. And it's going to be great. No, this was bullshit, man. And like, honestly, Portnoy should have been more high class than to even respond to this kind of shit.
I think it's an exact reason on why some people say their interest in the band wanes. It's because he knows how to play the game. Portnoy might be a dick, sure, but he knows how to play, the whole media aspect of things and to, make fire out of nothing. I mean, that's the reason why, all of a sudden, like when he was no longer part of Dream Theater, and then whenever Avenged Sevenfold asked him, like, his name was all over the fucking place. And I don't think that was, necessarily an accident. I think that he was looking to become bigger than Dream Theater. I mean, look, he hasn't even been on this album, and we've spent half of our time talking about him during this album.
Joe, cover your ears
Yeah.
for a second, buddy.
Okay.
How many people in the world listen to a band for the fucking drummer?
Me.
I mean, really think about that.
Led Zeppelin fans, Rush fans,
No,
and if you believe Mike Portnoy, Dream Theater fans.
I disagree. I think there are good drummers out there. I'm not taking away from those bands that Joe mentioned.
Oh, and Buddy Rich, if you believe Buddy Rich.
Even though he wasn't supposed to be listening to this part. The thing is that for me, being an asshole lead singer type, I'm not saying that it can be denied that Portnoy is a badass drummer. He is. He's great. Thing is, though, the drummer is one of literally the most replaceable members of a band
That would be the bass player.
that you could have. I said one of the most, not the most.
Look at this.
Okay.
He's making a reference to lead singers being assholes and
Right.
bass players being replaced. Like
He's
he just-
speaking
he's
from
just-
life experience.
I actually,
He's just out to offend me, man.
I'm
He's just
not.
out
I'm not offending.
speaking,
I'm not
speaking
offending
to a lead
anybody.
singer who's a bass player.
So that's just an unfortunate life choice you made, John. No,
It's actually a smart one. Bass
is.
players are replaceable, so I became the lead singer, and I was like,
Well, you
"There,
know
try to
what?
replace this
You can al-
dickhead."
Yeah, you can always have. You know what? If you're a bass player, you always have a job. But
Right.
the thing is that I think Portnoy kind of oversold his importance to the band.
I completely disagree.
You think so? You think that the later Dream Theater albums suffered because of a lack of Mike Portnoy?
I don't, but his importance is real because the concert attendance has been down. And I saw the first show that I saw in 2010 on the first tour they did with Mangini. It was actually only a few weeks after his live debut in Italy. I remember that vividly. I remember being at the venue, which holds about 2,500, 3,000 people. And it was an outdoor venue, like a mini amphitheater. It was summertime. And I'm sitting there bullshitting with my friends. And all of a sudden, I hear this big, loud intro start coming out. I'm like, wait a minute, this can't be them. Like, it's still light out. What the? But it was. And I go running to my seat. And I'm not kidding. It was maybe 2/3 full. And I thought, okay, people don't know when they're starting. They're going to get here. Because I'd been to so many shows in Cleveland. And they were all sellouts.
Right.
And this was not, to the point where at the end of the show, they did their bows, and as they're walking off stage, James LaBrie went up to the mic. As he's walking off stage, he goes, "Next time, tell your friends." I was like, oh, Jesus.
Wow.
And which is not my worst concert experience with them, which that'll be coming up because I've seen something far worse. But
Oh my.
yeah, the fans started staying away because it wasn't Portnoy. And I thought this album was a high quality album. It's got a lot of good stuff. Breaking All Illusions is a great song. That is a phenomenal song. It's got some heavy moments. It's got some of the ballads I know you guys don't like, but it was a really good album, and the concert attendance dropped. I was so surprised by that because I really thought that, Mike Portnoy, obviously, he was the engine of the whole thing. But Dream Theater fans seem to be above that whole standard. Well, if this guy that I really know isn't in the band, like I'm not following it type of attitude, but apparently not. So
I'm actually pretty surprised by that. I wouldn't have thought, like that people would have cared as much as they did. But now that I think about it, like when Joe and I went and saw Dream Theater a few years ago, and Portnoy was still in the band, at that time. When we saw them on the Progressive Nation tour with Opeth and Between the Buried and Me.
That was the fucking 2001 Space Odyssey intro. It was amazing.
Yes, it was.
And I remember they played Forsaken to the music video, which I thought was super lame. But they did it anyway, and it was actually
You
great.
shut up right now.
I know, right? I'm a piece of shit. We actually left before the show was over. But anyway,
To be fair, we had already listened to 3, Between the Buried and Me, and Opeth. And once Opeth has performed, Dan is done.
Yeah, and I was driving, so it's all on me, not on Joe. But
I left. I was done too, dude. Like after the hour of
hey, you know what though?
Petrucci playing a fucking solo.
But
I
you
was
know
ready
what?
to roll.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was a Dream Theater fan, but I have to admit that while we were perusing the merch tables and the various places to get salted pretzels and beer and the kind of shit that you get at a live show, the word that I heard spoken the most time besides fuck was Portnoy. Everybody was literally rock hard for Portnoy. And I remember being like, wow, I have just never seen that type of appreciation for the drummer of a band in my life. It's not the way it should be. Because in my opinion, if most of the components are there, and again, being an asshole lead singer, like to me, as long as the same guy's singing, I'm down with it.
I tend to agree with you on that. Everybody knew that Mike was the one that made all the decisions. Like, well, he changed the set list every night, and he did all these crazy, merch ideas, and we're gonna do a live album all the time. And then he did the Ytse Jam record stuff where you can get bootlegs and demos, and he was very fan friendly. But all that stuff is great, but to me, it always just came down to the music. Is it cool? When they put out the first record without him, I was like, okay, I'm not buying this out of curiosity to see whether or not the band's worth a damn with Mangini. I'm buying it because I like Dream Theater, and I'm hoping that it's a good Dream Theater album, and it was.
Right, because you still have the main guitar, the main vocal. Everything's still the same, basically.
He's good at it. I mean, sure, he's a drummer, but number 2, he's really good at the social manipulation, and that's why everybody has the hard-on for him.
He's tricked us into believing that he really is
Dream Theater.
He's the core of the band.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, and that's where I'm trying to make the. I know I'm. Going
I've got several albums telling you that's not the case. Facts don't matter in the world of social media. I get it.
Yeah, they don't, and that's what I'm trying to get at. He's able to perpetuate his perspective and his quote unquote truth, and he's got enough people to believe it that what really is the truth, and for a lot of people, it just doesn't matter anymore. And that's like what John was talking about with the drop off in attendance. I think there's a direct correlation between his manipulation of social media and the public masses and the lack of attendance. I don't think that's a coincidence.
I think it's time to talk about 2013's Dream Theater and all of its amazingness.
Yeah, because this is a great fucking album.
I love how we talked about the first album without Mike Portnoy. All we talked about was Mike Portnoy.
Right. Well, I did mention Breaking All Illusions.
You did.
So there was that. 2013's Dream Theater, the least impressive Dream Theater album that exists.
What?
Oh yeah, I am not the biggest fan of this one.
Warning, controversial opinion.
Yeah, it was the one. Like I said, they have 4 long songs. This has the 4th one, and I don't care for it. And it pains me to say that because I interviewed John Petrucci for Breaking the Fourth Wall, and he was just gushing about how proud he was of
Elimination Theory.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, well, cool. Yeah, glad you like it, dude. Like,
John, you're lucky that I have a Star Wars fan behind me that I can't, take a shot at the prequels or something. Because I'm trying to think of how to really truly justify my hatred for what you just said about this record, because this record is a damn good band again.
You should hear what he said about System of a Down.
System of a Down is dog shit if dog shit could shit out dog shit after eating dog shit.
Hey, just so we're friends.
I'm inclined to agree.
I hate that band.
Just so we're friends, I wasn't on the episode we did on System of a Down.
I was.
No, see, the thing for me about the self-titled record is that they stated that it was their intention to take their long format songwriting, but condense it into like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 minute long songs. And to me, it just didn't translate. It sounded like a bunch of ideas that needed more time, and it rushed from part to part, and it didn't work for me.
I think they were trying to make a more straight ahead record, but like it was literally like, all right, guy, hey, studio. It was almost like they presented these ideas to their record label.
Hey, Mr. Producer, Mike Mangini's in the band, so he's gonna make some shit up now. Is that cool?
No. I think what happened was we're like, all right, guys, these are the dailies. What do you guys think of these ideas we're developing? And they're like, okay, great. And then they just pressed it to a record. I mean, am I wrong on that?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm inclined to agree. As much as I like it, I'd say yes. That sounds about right.
Yeah, for somebody who's big into flow, I don't know why I dig this album. This album even has an instrumental that I really fucking dig, and I'm not an instrumental guy at all.
I will agree with you 1,000,000% on that. I like instrumentals, but I agree with you completely that Enigma Machine is fucking great. That is an awesome song.
Insane.
That is an awesome song. That's one of the things. Like I said, I like this record, but too much of it just didn't work for me. And I mean, I love stuff like Along for the Ride is a great tune. Enigma Machine, obviously.
I like the Enemy Inside too.
Enemy Inside
is great. God, I'm drawing a blank on the what's the one that sounds just like Rush? I can hear the you are caught up in the gravity. That it's the one that sounds really Rush-ish. Anyway, I can't believe I can't remember it.
Sounds very Russian.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's got some songs I totally love, but the rest of them I'm just like, whatever.
No, we have not gotten to the Astonishing yet.
Don't worry about it. We're disagreeing on this album. We'll disagree on that one too. So.
I don't think we'll be disagreeing on anything.
I don't know, man.
So yeah, I just like it. This record sounds rushed to me, in terms of. I did. First of all, I just disagree with the premise. Oh, we have to take our long form songwriting and fit it into 4, 5, 6 minute songs. Like, well, no, you don't. That's why you have, like we talked about, those ballads. That's what those are for. You can have like an 8, 9, 10 minute song that's totally crazy, and then you've got the popular, more straight ahead songs. That's how their songwriting works. So I thought this was the one record where they tried to screw with their formula, and I didn't think it was successful at all because it was unnecessary.
Well, I think that's the reason why Joe and I probably like it so much. It's lacking the parts that we're not overly huge fans of.
Yeah, true.
So that's probably why we like it more than you do.
Well, I mean Mangini did more. He was involved in the writing too, which, yeah.
Dan's feeling pretty good right about now, I believe.
I am. No, I mean, yeah, I think I've achieved the level of drunk I was at last time, but we'll see.
So we're par for the course.
Dude, I'm on call for a dialysis clinic that I have to potentially be at 5 a.m., so this could have been a bad choice for me.
I think it's time to hear what Jon Drake thinks about the Astonishing, and then Geoff and I are going to try to tear it apart, and then within the next 10 or 15 minutes, we'll have the ending of this podcast finally after the past 2 months.
Fuck you. Fuck you, your 2-hour album.
Well, I absolutely love The Astonishing, and I think it's fantastic. I think it's completely underrated, and unfortunately, this album has the distinction of being my worst Dream Theater live experience, not because I didn't like it, but when I said I saw them on the Dramatic Turn of Events tour and it was 2/3 full, I saw The Astonishing live twice. I saw right at the beginning of the tour, I saw them at the Chicago Theater, which ironically is where I saw them on the previous tour and now this last tour. And it was sold out, so awesome. And they had this killer stage production, just fantastic stuff. And I saw them about 3/4 of a year later, I believe it was, maybe half a year later. actually up here in the Cleveland area in a suburb called Lakewood. They played the high school's auditorium, and there
Dream Theater played a high school auditorium in 2015.
Fuck yeah.
2017 or whatever year it was.
I am not even kidding when I say that there may have been 200 people at this show. And this place was so high school auditorium. There weren't even concessions or like anything. Like if you wanted to go get, at other shows, you get like Dan was talking about pretzels and all that kind of crap. Basically, you could have a bottle of pop, a bottle of water, and a candy bar. That was what you could buy. That was all.
I feel like you're getting paid back for saying this is a good record.
It was
John.
going towards the high school marching band fund.
Yeah, it was. It actually was. That's you joke, but that's the truth.
Yeah, no, I believe it.
And it was also was it 2 days later? Some friends of mine went to the Toledo show, and they said at that show that there were not even 150. And at one point, the ticket sales up until like a week and a half before the show, there was 65 tickets sold.
Holy shit.
That's
and
not
it was,
dude, I've sold more than 65 tickets in my local band here in St. Louis.
Yeah, so have I.
Shit.
But people were rebelling because they got pissed because the whole tour presentation was just nothing but the Astonishing. It was evening with, and the first set was the first disc. They took an intermission, came out, did the second disc, and everybody went home.
God, that sucks.
And it was, the interesting thing was that about a week and a half after I saw them was when they started pulling out encores. They were doing the whole Astonishing album.
Right.
And then they started coming out for a third set and doing other songs. And they made a point of saying like, oh yeah, we decided we're gonna start doing other songs because the ticket sales were so shitty. They had to do something to get people to buy tickets because everybody was just up in arms over the fact that, well, if they're not playing anything else, I'm not coming, especially people that didn't like the album.
Damn, dude. Now I'm depressed.
That hurts.
That is very depressing.
That hurts.
But if you like the album Images and Words, it actually was a blessing in disguise because that's the reason they went and did the Images and Words 25th anniversary tour, because they took such a financial bath on the Astonishing tour that they had to stay out and keep doing it. They had to go back out on tour just to recoup losses from the Astonishing.
Oh my God,
that hurts.
Go look at videos of the Astonishing tour and look at the stage, and then go look at videos from the Images and Words 25th anniversary tour and look at the stage. They literally have like 4 stalks of lights and a giant quilt on the back of the wall, and that's their entire production for the 25th anniversary Images tour.
Oh my God.
It just reeks of taking a bath, and it sucks.
Wow.
Because usually they'll tour for like 12, 14 months on a record, and
yeah.
This one, put it this way, the Astonishing came out January 29th of 2016, so they're going on almost 2 years of being on tour, and they just took a bath because of this album. But I love it. I think it's one of the most creative things I've ever seen a band try and do. I think in an era of music where it's all garbage, computerized shit, and everything's a single, for them to come out and put out, a 2-hour record that's basically like listening to a movie, I thought was brilliant. And I love the music and I love the story, and I just thought it was fantastic. So feel free to destroy it now.
God damn it. Now I can't, you piece of shit.
I was going to say,
God. Like, come on, man. How do I follow that?
Dan wants to go buy 7 copies now just to support Dream
I only
Theater.
have the one copy. I only have the one copy, and it's on vinyl, and it's like 100 fucking records long. But like,
I was getting ready to tear into Jon Drake as a human being and start attacking his tastes.
If only I could get it on 8-track.
I was going to ask Geoff if he can still do the Jedi mind trick just to make sure I'm safe.
Okay, so let me start with saying I liked the concept. Okay.
Don't start looking for good things in what you hated 5 minutes ago just because you heard a sad story.
What I hated 8 weeks ago.
Holy shit.
Because I think the last time we did this before our stuff fucked up was like, I was like, it's too long and the story's unnecessary. But like, I mean, I've had 8 weeks to kind of listen. Because this is the Dream Theater album I was the least familiar with whenever we first did the episode. And I like the science fiction, it almost kind of reminds me a little bit of like Isaac Asimov's Foundation trilogy, if you guys have ever read those books.
Vaguely familiar.
Okay. So just like this alternate society that's being run, like I don't know, that's being controlled. I did enjoy this a little bit, and my interpretation layers could be off, but I feel like it's spot on because it's my fucking podcast. So but no, I did enjoy the lyrics. I have to admit that the music didn't quite do it for me, and part of that was just the man, the 2 hours and 10 minutes. It was rough. And like, I'm with you, man. Like, I wouldn't, if I paid to see Dream Theater, I want the full experience, right? We want the girlfriend experience, right? Where they just try everything, they'll try anything at least once. But like, this is just kind of like, if I had paid money, and this is all I got after I'd already bought the record and wasn't super thrilled with it anyway. But I'm like, no, it's fine. Fuck it. I'm going to go through Dream Theater. They're going to play all my favorite songs. And it's going to be all good. I think that's where the whole progressive band that's really all about the concept that they've created, I think that's where that breaks down, from a fan audience perspective. And even though I can't really trash the album on its own merits, I do feel like the songs could have hit a little bit harder. I do feel like maybe we could have had a little bit more progression. It almost seemed like this album was more about the lyrics than it was about the music.
I agree with you completely. This to me stands alone in their catalog. I kind of hold it outside of anything else they did because it's not meant to be a standard album. It's meant to be a soundtrack. So it's not like, well, here's this collection of songs we wrote. We have this story, and we're trying to tell a story through music. So this is a soundtrack. It's not so much here's a collection of songs. And I don't think it will forever be their most polarizing release, no matter what they do, because people are either going to love it or they're going to hate it. But the thing that's going to hurt it the most, you can't just go and listen to a little bit of it. You have to listen to the whole thing, or else it's just background noise. I think it's
as Dan stated already, it's the 130-minute daunting task.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for your casual, Dream Theater listener, which I probably fall into that category, that's a pretty big pill to swallow.
Oh, yeah.
And
you had no problem swallowing the sun, you fuck.
Yeah, and that's because
my God, why do we got to go back to that?
Doom metal band album that was the same length. Come on, dude.
No, Dan's right. I mean, it's because that's what's Swallow the Sun is known for, is for just pretentious.
I gotta write that on my calendar.
Over the top. Yeah, the fact that I said Dan was right.
Oh yeah.
But they make these shit. Actually, they're working on a 7-hour album right now, to give you an idea. So I mean, yeah, they're completely over the fucking top, and it was just like, if you're not into it 100%, it's this album I think is for the hardcore fans, and it's so I think that's why it's for John. It's because I definitely peg you as a hardcore fan of Dream Theater with as many times as you've seen them in concert.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, for you
Dream
guys,
Theater and Dream Theater and Van Halen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that Han Solo's dead.
What the fuck?
Look at this.
John, did you know?
I disagree with your opinion on the album, and then you're gonna pull that horse shit.
Did you know Han Solo's dead, John?
He's not dead. I don't need to take this kind of crap when I know he's alive.
And he's in the same room as me, and John knows what's about to happen.
Oh, I'm dead within the next 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
See, you can't get me with that one, because I'm already well on record with people that say that whole thing is bullshit. Like, it completely changes his character. Shut up. No, it
does.
Doesn't.
You fucked.
It does no such goddamn thing.
Absolutely, it does. Okay, so if you and I met for the first time as human beings, okay, and like you and I are just sitting here talking just like we normally are, and then I just pull out a pistol and I fucking shoot Geoff in the chest. But let's say you and I are sitting there drinking milkshakes, watching Dream Theater, and Geoff walks into the restaurant and pulls a gun on me and fires at me but misses, and then I shoot him. which time do you think that I'm more of a scoundrel? The time that I just shot him in cold blood, or the time that he came in and shot at me first, and then I shot him in self-defense?
A totally bullcrap argument.
How?
Because Han Solo was in 4 Star Wars films, and if you were to show somebody who's never seen Star Wars before the version with Greedo shooting first and Han moving and stuff, you know what they're going to say after 4 movies of Han Solo? That guy was a badass. Han Solo's one of the coolest characters ever. Not, oh, what a pussy, man.
I think that's an invalid. No, because I think that's an invalid argument, because his character progression from becoming a scoundrel to being somebody with a conscience is much stronger when he fires first at the beginning of that film.
No, because the scene with Greedo is pointless. It's just some rat in a bar that he shot. It's not some major plot point.
So you're saying the additional scene with Greedo is irrelevant?
Yes, I am.
Racist. No. But
yeah.
It's just some fucking rat.
I can't be anti-Rhodian now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
See, I wanted
I get a lot of Rhodian friends, okay?
He doesn't like
and
you.
They don't even work for Jabba. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to actually, as weird as that sounds, I actually wanted to know, why did Han feel it was necessary to shoot him before something happened? What is Greedo's backstory that makes him dangerous enough or inconsequential enough that Han's got to kill him immediately? As he does.
You
Han
can read
Solo
all about
is a
that.
smuggler on the run. He doesn't need motivation other than I don't want to go to jail
You can read more about
or
that.
get frozen
There it
in
is.
carbonite.
I think you can read more
There
about
it
that
is.
in the Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, which is Star Wars Expanded Universe.
Which doesn't count because it wasn't that good.
Jon Drake, final thoughts on Dream Theater?
Dream Theater is my second favorite band, and to me, they have very few missteps, and they remain an awesome example of what music can still be in an era where it's watered down pop drivel and garbage.
Like Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. But
It's a different night.
Look, they're a band that fired Mike Portnoy. Okay, what does that tell you? That's if Dream Theater fans want to be mad at a band for firing Mike Portnoy, it's not Dream Theater. So
There you go.
read a book, people. No, Dream Theater's fucking great. I love them. I've never been disappointed by anything that they've put out. They put on a phenomenal live show, and it's awesome to have a band that you really love, where you know exactly what you're going to get every time they put out product or go play live. It's just really cool to have something that solid and dependable.
Geoff, what about you?
They are a band for me that is, truthfully, a little bit of hit and miss. The fact that they're all over the map, I should like it because that's generally what I tend to like. I like bands that don't stagnate. But whenever they miss, they've missed quite a bit. But whenever they're on, I mean, it's perfection. So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with them. So yeah, that's pretty much where I stand. Whenever there's a song of theirs that I like, I really, really like it. But if there's a song I dislike, it's very easy to hit the skip button.
Dan, what about you?
I like Dream Theater for the most part. I think it's more hit than miss. And I know I say that a lot on this podcast, but I do think that for the most part, I've enjoyed everything that they've put out. And they're really good because typically I listen to heavier bands than this. So I think that with Dream Theater, it was really, they're kind of my escape band. And what I really like about Dream Theater is really superficial. I like how it feels sci-fi. I like how it feels fantasy at times. And I like the really weird directions that the music takes me in. And I think they haven't lost that. So, I'd say that even though I wasn't super thrilled with the most recent album, I think I probably will be with the next, because that's just been par for the course throughout their career.
I love Dream Theater. I love the memory of Dream Theater. I remember Dream Theater when Dream Theater was Awake and The Mirror and Pull Me Under and Octavarium and the first disc of 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. But I don't recognize this band that I hear today, other than those are the guys that can play guitar better than me. But I love listening to him. I just can't do it all day long, every day. So for the metal fan, go back to the beginning. For the progressive fan, go to the middle. And for the... I can't recommend the later records. I'm sorry, I tried.
Well, the good news is, if we can close on this, that John Petrucci has officially come out and said that the next album will be coming out probably early 2019. And he said that going out and playing the Images record every night for months on end, they have decided they are going to try and go back to the style of writing they were using on the Images record and try and write from that headspace. So if you like the earlier Dream Theater, Joe, this might be an album that you will absolutely love. So there is hope for people who are not into the newer style.
Even if it's sweet, sweet words of nothingness, it sounds good. I like it.
I agree.
Well, Jon Drake, you have a choice. You can either tell me what your album of the week is, or you can tell me all about the Nerf Herder Council.
Or both.
Geoff has given you a third
Just
option.
do both. This episode's going to be like 4 fucking hours.
Right? I don't know if I have an album of the week because I am now officially entrenched in learning a whole bunch of mindless pop drivel for next year's cover band season.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah,
You're going to sing
fun.
Crazy Bitch this year?
Honestly, dude, that would be a welcome change. Instead, I get to sing a fourth Imagine Dragons song, and the Weeknd and Thriller, and
but cover bands make money, dude.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's enjoyable to sit there and have to force your brain to remember stuff that it hates.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So
you're at war with yourself constantly. That is so metal.
All right, so what have you hated the least?
Well, I actually kind of have an album of the week. I kind of went back to this. It's one I loved. It's been out for, I think it was last year it came out, but the latest Anthrax album, For All Kings, is kick-ass. So I've been listening to that a lot.
You're lucky that Dan doesn't have control of the Skype connection. Otherwise, he would have canceled as soon as you said Anthrax.
Love Anthrax, man. They might be my number 3 band behind Van Halen and Dream Theater, honestly.
Maybe if I get violently ill one night, we'll call you and be like, dude, we're gonna have an Anthrax discussion. Dan's not gonna be here. He's violently ill, so we're just gonna slip this one under the radar, right?
Hey, man. Everybody's got those bands that they hate. Like I said about System of a Down. That's System of a Down and Prince are my.
You don't like Prince?
Oh my god, dude!
And you like guitar?
I want to yell, something negative about Porgs, but I can't.
You know what?
I love fucking Porgs.
You know what? Though he's right. We're all entitled to our own opinions.
Yeah, just like how I don't like Van Halen.
Honestly, for me, it's really just Pantera and Anthrax.
I'm
pretty damn forgiving.
Thing.
I'm very damn forgiving about everything else.
Dan, what's your band of the week?
My band of the week?
Yes, sir.
I'll have to check my YouTube because I've been a YouTube album whore lately. Because I've been playing this game called Titan's Quest on Steam, and it's kind of a mindless action like hack and slash game. So I've been listening to a lot of just like YouTube albums. So
I've been replaying Arkham Knight because it's fucking amazing, and everybody should play Arkham Knight.
So mine would be In the Maze of Kadath by the band Catacomb.
All right, Joe, how about you?
The Death of Rhythm and Blues by American Standards.
Nice
slug.
Because it's fucking amazing.
I've been listening to
I have that on cassette.
Defying the Rules by Hybria, which is a Brazilian power metal band, which is actually a lot of fun to listen to if you like power metal.
I do sometimes.
Well, John, it's been a few weeks, but thanks for coming back and helping us finish this episode up.
It's been 8 weeks.
It's been a while. When are we going to be able to come on and have the Discuss Metal versus Nerf Herder Council Star Wars Battle Royale?
We already did that.
Oh, look at that, Dan. Dan wants his own moment. He's like, no, that's me. That's me.
That's me, bitches.
Hey, dude, we could do that anytime, man. We're always up for that kind of stuff. It's always fun to debate. We've gotten a lot of people that have told us that the episodes where there's a lot more opinionated stuff going on is kind of what they're into. So especially like apparently our dumb fan theories episodes, when I'm just basically calling people fucking idiots the whole time. people dig it.
I respect that.
Yeah, it's like, well, some of the shit that people come up with is like, clickbait annoys me, and I hate social media, and people just do it on purpose to look at me. I could get clicks. I'm like,
Han Solo and Luke Skywalker's secret gay relationship. Click to learn more. Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's the whole thing that actually gained steam, that Jar Jar Binks or a random Gungan was actually a Sith Lord, and people started buying it. I'm like, I'm just gonna find this person, and I'm going to have a nice calm talk with them with the hood of my car.
Oh,
like, it's
shit.
just obnoxious, but yeah, we definitely got to do that, man, because that'd be fun as hell. So
I will say
definitely do.
Did you know that Jar Jar was around for where he was still alive during the Battle of Jakku?
Is this the whole in the Aftermath novel?
Yeah, it's canon now.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that, because I have a problem with Chuck Wendig because of his Twitter account. So
Oh, wow.
You'll never find a more vile hive of scum and villainy.
Oh, it's terrible. It's one of those, how you get somebody that's like, they just won't shut up about their political opinions, and they just pontificate like they're the one that knows everything.
Oh,
well, he's that guy, and I'm like, just
Dan.
shut.
Why are you guys all looking at me? Fuck you.
Yeah.
I don't talk
he's
about
awful.
politics.
You talk about Jedi politics
dude, I hate politics.
Yeah,
and Back to the Future politics.
Back to the Future politics would be okay. So yeah, me and Chuck Wendig have a love-hate relationship. I love to hate him. So, But yeah, so podcast plugs, and they'll get the hell out, since it's been another 2 hours. I don't want to chew everybody's ear off, but I am as of last week the new host of the official Metal Nexus podcast, Talk Toomey. So Toomey is now the co-host. I did take over for him. So
hostile takeover.
Yeah, I just figured it was time, and it was. I'm like the Sheev Palpatine of Talk To Me. So, yeah. So check out the official podcast of Metal Nexus, Talk To Me. I do co-host that with the legend Josh Toomey.
The legendary Joshua Toomey. Yes.
Yeah. And I do host the Nerf Herder Council, which is a pretty goofy little Star Wars podcast, but it's fun. So it's basically what you guys are doing, only if we talked about Star Wars all night long instead of just part of the night. So check that out. All the social medias and all that, nerfherdercouncil.com, Spreaker, whatever. So.
And on that note, this has been episode 30 of Discography Discussion.
Right, yeah.
Thank you for listening. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Discuss Metal. Subscribe to our podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts, including Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher. Visit discussmetal.com for all things discography discussion, and please send questions and comments to danandjoeshow@gmail.com. If you are not a patron, you can become one at patreon.com/discussmetal. We have some sweet perks.
Give me your money.
And Han always shot. There is no shot first. Han shot. That's why Greedo's dead.
Jesus Christ. All right, anyway. Jon Drake, thank you so much for coming back on, man. You're one of our favorite people to talk to.
Yeah,
honest
no
to God.
question.
Like, we're not even bullshitting you on that. So,
no, thanks for having me, guys. I fucking love doing this stuff with you guys. So,
yeah, anytime, man.
We definitely got to Geoff, we got to have you on the Nerf Herder.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we talked about that. Joe, if you want to come on, we got to have all three of you.
I can't stand on my own, but if you have all three of us, I can hold my own.
You'd be surprised, man. It's a little easier than you think.
They're easier to talk to than you think.
Yeah, but I'm not as fluent in Star Wars as you are.
Am I that fluent? Dude, these guys blew me out of the fucking water whenever I was on there. Like, they knew shit that I didn't know at all. Because, like, I was like, I'm going to go on the Star Wars podcast, and I'm going to show these guys what's up. And then I listened to their podcast, and I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, dude, everybody says that, and I'm like, but dude, we're like one of the dumbest podcasts out there. Like, if you were to put us up there at like Celebration, we would go to Celebration to get smoked. People would be like, well, how do you have a podcast? Like, I know, you guys suck. Like, you don't know everything. Like, but then people that listen to our show are like, man, you guys know everything. I'm like, what is it? Do we know everything or nothing? I can't make up my mind.